The Board of Education is now called to order. Roll call. Geiger.
Present.
Meek.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Williams here. Weiniger.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, on to the DCSD spotlight. I will hand it over to Deputy Superintendent Hyatt.
All right, good evening, Board of Education. Good evening, everybody. We are going to start recognitions this evening by honoring some incredible community members who are part of the Invest in DCSD Citizens Campaign. Would the following people please join me up front? Krista Gilstrap, Julie Gooden, Whitney Gregg, Delana Maines, Steve Murray, and Chris Pratt. We have a couple members who were not able to be here this evening, Jake Miley and Sean Walsh. And Julie is not here. She's on her way. So these incredible people headed up the Invest in DCSD Citizens Campaign and worked tirelessly to help pass our bond initiative 5A. We need a round of applause for this group. We are incredibly grateful for all of your leadership, your energy, and efforts in this work to support our community. On behalf of Douglas County School District and our staff, thank you. Thank you for all you did to help educate our community about the need to invest in our school district and our students. We could not have done it without all of you. Krista, would you like to say a few words on behalf of this group? Sure.
Well, I want to say, obviously, this was a 3-year effort. So thank you to everyone in our community. Come on, Julie. Come on up. Come on, Julie. So we just want to thank everyone who helped either 22, 23, 24. This was obviously a domino effort that we finally, got both the mill and the bond passed. So very thankful to everyone who helped even a little bit, a lot, I wish I could name everybody. Want to give a special shout out to you all. Wish Superintendent Kane was here. You guys did so much work. I mean, the work you did as part of staff, the infographics, the education piece that you did, but then I know you guys were out knocking doors with us. You were answering texts and calls and anything that I might have needed. So really want to thank you and obviously the rest of the staff. It was definitely a community effort. It was so great to see our community come together and finally support our schools like they should. So.
Absolutely. So round of applause for everybody that helped join in this incredible effort. I don't know what we're doing with all of the time that we have now on our weekends, but it has been nice. So thank you again to everybody who volunteered. Our community truly came together, and it is a testament to what is possible when we join together to do what is in the best interest of our students and our kids. And we will be sure to make sure we get certificates to Jake and Sean. So again, thank you so much. We have to get a picture, so we will get a picture now. And I know that if Superintendent Kane were here, she would want to give handshakes and hugs, and she will do so when she's able to. All right, thank you. Another round of applause. All right, I'm sure you also felt the energy in the room because we have a state championship team here this evening. We get to celebrate our high school athletes with the state champion girls 5A flag football team. Please join me up, as well as Principal Segley and Coach. So earlier this month, the Golden Eagles earned the title of state champions in the, and I need to emphasize this, the first ever 5A flag football championship. The first ever. Round of applause for this team. I'm going to hand the microphone over to Rob Segley, principal at Mountain Vista High School, to share a few words about what this honor means to his school and to these incredible athletes.
Thanks, Danelle. This group is extraordinary. As you mentioned, this is the first year of flag football in Colorado, so a lot of these young ladies have only played for a year or two. And the athleticism, the energy, the effort this entire year was just amazing. We saw crazy athletic plays out in the field, and flag football quickly became one of our most popular spectator sports in our community. So phenomenal year, undefeated season, state champions, really just a dream season, and we're excited to do it again next year. Want to thank our coaching staff, led by Mr. Dana Surdock, who also had a flag football learning curve in his second year of coaching the girls as a new sport. So great job there. And I'm going to turn it over to one of our captains, Miss Riley Rivera.
I just want to say, I think I speak for all of us when I say how excited and honored we are to be a part of something so amazing. I mean, it's crazy to think we made history this year. And, you know, we're excited to see how this sport continues to grow for years to come.
So proud of you, incredible female athletes, and the leadership that you've shown in Douglas County School, as well as the state of Colorado. Really incredible. So a huge honor, recognition for our district and for Mountain Vista High School. And I think you got a pretty high quality boys team too, but maybe the girls are teaching them a few things, I think. That's what I've heard a little bit. All right, Director Geiger. Is that Jason or Thomas? Jason. Are you asking them to do a specific cheer?
Yeah, I want to get the photo first, but can you get them kind of this way so I don't have the podium?
All right, so I'm hearing some additional elements to this. So we're going to start with photo. So we're going to back up to get photo. And then I am hearing we may want you to do some level of cheer. This is where we're going to step out. So much fun. So that concludes this evening's recognitions.
Congratulations again, and thank you to 5A Bond Team, Invest in DCSD. All right, we are going to move on to the acceptance of the agenda. The recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
So I move to amend the agenda to include a discussion on a potential resolution to release a charter school application to the Charter School Institute. Just a discussion item.
Second.
Any discussion on that? I guess my question, like what is the discussion? What are you looking for? Just more information, like discussions I've had?
Yeah,
Okay.
Reading on Facebook that there's been conversations
Sure.
around this topic, and I know I reached out to you to ask about it, and you said you hadn't received anything in writing on a request.
Sure.
But that you had agreed to put it on the December agenda, so
Yes.
I'd just like to have transparency.
Sure. Great. All right, so we will take a vote to add that. We'll just add it to the end of the policy governance section. So we'll add it and make it number 38 if it's approved. So Geiger,
Aye.
Meek,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Myers,
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Williams, aye. Weiniger.
No.
All right, passes 6-1. All right, and then now do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion by Geiger, second by Meek. Geiger.
Aye.
Meek.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Myers.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Williams. Aye. Weiniger.
Aye.
Vote passes 7-0. All right, we will move on to the superintendent updates, or today the deputy superintendent updates.
Okay, thank you, President Williams. So I'd like to just start with information about Superintendent Kane. Superintendent Kane's dad has been in hospice for a few months and has taken a turn for the worst, unfortunately. Caretakers are saying he may only have a few days left. Understandably, Superintendent Kane is with her family right now, is where she needs to be. Our thoughts are with her and her family during this difficult time. So shifting gears, last Monday was Veterans Day, and I know many of you attended some of the celebrations. We want to take a moment to thank those who served, who are currently serving, especially those who are part of the Douglas County community. We have veterans who are alumni, staff, families, volunteers, and more. Thank you to all of the DCSD schools who honored our veterans, and there were many. There are some incredible school events where veterans were invited in and celebrated by students and staff. It's incredible to see. Thank you again to our Douglas County voters for saying yes to 5A, our bond initiative. We may say that more than once tonight. It was great to be able to honor the Invest in DCSD committee. We also want to thank the school leaders, educators, staff, and Board of Education for all they did to help educate the community about our funding needs. Thank you. We've officially entered the snow season in Colorado. As a reminder, families and staff can find more information about weather delays and closures and how those decisions are made on the DCSD website. Meetings with families in the Highlands Ranch area have begun to discuss and obtain feedback regarding declining enrollment in the North Planning area. Our first meeting was last Wednesday, and it was a packed house with great feedback and questions. The next meeting will take place tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. at Mountain Ridge Middle School. As you know, our school district is currently considering pairing up to 6 elementary schools, which would result in the closure of up to 3 total schools within Highlands Ranch. Decisions regarding which schools would potentially close would take place in April of 2025, with any consolidations becoming effective for the 2026-2027 school year. More information, including a list of upcoming community meetings, can be found on the Douglas County School District website. Many DCSD schools, programs, and principals were named winners and runners-up in the Colorado Parent Magazine 2024 Family Favorite Contest. We look forward to honoring those schools at the December Board of Education meeting. Thank you to all of the schools that participated in the One Book, One District toiletry drive. DCSD schools collected thousands of items for C-Corps during the drive. This year's winners of toiletry drive for schools that collected the most items per student included, and each of these winners received $1,000 for their school libraries: Cherry Valley Elementary, Mountain Ridge Middle School, and Vail. All items will be picked up this Friday. Thank you again for all of those who participated. DCSD has some state champions in fall athletics. We recognized the 5A flag football state champions from Mountain Vista this evening. We will honor more of these state champions at future board meetings. Congratulations to Gavin Amella of Castleview High School, was named individual state champion at the boys 5A golf state championship. Mountain Vista High School senior Benji Anderson won the overall 5A individual boys cross country state championship and set a course record. The Mountain Vista Golden Eagles were named 5A girls cross country state champions. It's a Vista year. The Legend High School 5A girls volleyball team took second in the state. Thank you, Titans, for representing us so well. And we have other teams in the playoffs that are going on right now for football, soccer, and softball. So good luck to all of our teams. So some upcoming events to make sure you're aware of. The next Parent University webinar is taking place tomorrow evening, November 20th at 5:30 p.m. The topic will be on bullying awareness and prevention in Douglas County School District. This webinar will be recorded and made available in this Friday's edition of Week in Review and on the Douglas County School District website. The next Special Education Family Engagement Talk event will take place virtually tomorrow evening, November 20th at 4:30 p.m. and the focus will be on autism support for students and families. The annual 8th grade Career Expo hosted by the Foundation for Douglas County Schools takes place this Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Legacy campus. DC Kid is hosting an Experience Dyslexia simulation this Thursday, November 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Highlands Ranch Library. This hands-on simulation lets participants experience some of the challenges and frustrations of language-based learning differences. The annual Legacy Campus Showcase Night is taking place on Wednesday, December 4th at 6 p.m. Current and prospective students and their families are invited to come see what amazing things students have been learning this year at the DCSD Legacy Campus. Check out learning spaces and equipment, see demonstrations, talk to students and staff, and learn how to apply to Legacy for next year. Lots going on in Douglas County School District, as always. Next week is Thanksgiving break here in the district and for all of us, and we wish our students, families, and staff a safe and restful week. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. All right, on to public comment. Public comment tonight, everyone will be allotted 3 minutes. Please remain respectful and address the board rather than guests or staff in the room. Please also keep comments appropriate for a K-12 audience. First, I will call Valerie Moses, and then Matthew Smith, and then Jennifer Iverson. So Valerie.
Thank you. Greetings, members of the school board. So my name is Valerie Moses. I am a teacher at Highlands Ranch High School. I, along with the administration at Highlands Ranch, put forth a proposal to introduce AP African American Studies. I just wanted to take a moment to speak with you because the students at our school are really excited for this class. At Highlands Ranch, we are fortunate to serve a student population that is increasingly diverse, a community where students from all backgrounds are coming together, learning from one another, and enriching each other's lives. And I have students of all colors coming to me asking, can we get this course? And as a teacher, anytime a student expresses that much enthusiasm for academics, I listen. In addition, AP African American Studies can serve as a gateway for students who have been historically underrepresented in advanced placement courses. And by offering this class, we'll attract more students to the AP program, resulting in the overall improvement of the school's performance. I do want to emphasize this course is an elective. It's not a requirement. It will not replace or limit any existing curriculum. Instead, it will offer students an opportunity to learn more deeply about an integral part of American history and culture. And in this age when we're kind of constantly concerned about student engagement, motivation, cell phones and social media and everything else, these students are asking for an opportunity to study something meaningful to them. So in closing, on behalf of my students, I just want to say thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration of AP African American Studies. Thanks.
Thank you. Matthew Smith and then Jennifer Iverson.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight as a concerned citizen of Douglas County, a parent, a strong advocate for accountability, fiscal responsibility, and the preservation of values that our community holds dear. I want to address the recent passage of the bond initiative, which I was a no vote on, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone up there. I do feel like there was some, deceptive language being used without imposing any new tax, but that's really water under the bridge. It's passed. And thankfully, after 3 years, we can move on. I do have an ask, though. What I'm really frustrated with is that several years ago, a candidate for superintendent sat in this room and promised to run this district like a business, and I've just failed to see that. We've solely relied on tax increase after tax increase to fund district initiatives. However, the superintendent is not alone in this. Most of the board has rejected private industry attempting to build schools within the designated growth areas. But now that this initiative has passed, I have an ask of the board. I want you to ensure that these funds are managed tightly and transparently. My concern goes way beyond the brick and the mortar. It's also about the people that will staff these buildings. Our community deserves teachers who focus on education and not indoctrination. We must no longer accept or tolerate instances of district staff blatantly ignoring boundaries, whether it's through woke artwork on classroom walls or presenting radical, revisionist interpretations of history like the Mona Lisa debacle. This brings me to a larger issue, and that's the ongoing failure to address these instances across the district. Despite Douglas County being a Republican stronghold in the metro area, one that voted overwhelmingly against leftist ideologies, we continue to see teachers pushing their personal political agendas onto our children. These actions have been defended, excused, and even ignored by the board, by some of the staff in the district. I'm trying not to be direct like you asked in your opening statements. Creating an environment where there are no real consequences for staff who stray from their professional responsibilities. There's one person in this district that sets the values and the tone of this organization. And anything that happens inside of the district that is outside of those values or that is tolerated is a continuation of those values. So what I'm asking is that this board focuses on managing the district now that we're away from tax increases, mill and bond initiatives. I want to make sure that we uphold the values of the community. The taxpayer dollars are spent wisely, and that the focus remains on preparing our students for successful futures, not pushing divisive ideologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Iverson.
Good evening, board members and the cabinet. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate our community on passing 5A. I am grateful that the district will have the funding to continue the work needed to protect these assets for our future learners and also provide 2 new neighborhood schools that will welcome all students. I've been reading up on the revisions to the board policy JKA about this district's restraint and seclusion practices. I wholeheartedly appreciate the time and focused attention that is being given to a difficult subject. Thank you. Moving along with the praise report, I also wanted to commend the proposal of a new course in AP African American Studies. Our students deserve a chance to learn about their fellow Americans and gain a perspective that is rich in knowledge, especially since part of this course framework includes a collaboration with the Smithsonian Institute. This past week, the Colorado Department of Education had their own board meeting. Many families, organizations, educators, and a pediatrician spoke to the board members about their experiences with reading challenges. Witnessing these public comments was heart-wrenching and caught the attention of Colorado Public Radio, Chalkbeat, and the Colorado Community Media. The plea for a mandatory state dyslexia screening is absolutely essential. Colorado remains one of only 7 states who do not have a statewide mandated dyslexia screener. It's embarrassing. Next month, you will all meet for a retreat. During that time, I noticed that legislative priorities is on your agenda. Previous legislation has not been successful in meaningfully addressing dyslexia, even though the current implementation of the READ Act does not find these struggling readers. Not even ChildFind has found all of these struggling readers. During that time, during your retreat, I would really like you guys to explicitly state your intentions of the need for the statewide dyslexia screener to your legislative
15 seconds
lobbyist.
remaining.
I would love to see the support include district staff who testify in favor of such law if that kind of legislation is promoted up to that level. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes public comment. Moving on to the adoption of consent agenda. I am just going to let everyone know I will be pulling item number 25, which is the approval of course and program proposals. And sorry, Director Meek?
Oh, I was just going to ask to pull number 12 as well, the Board of Education calendar and monitoring
Sure.
schedule.
Okay, and Director Myers?
I would also like to pull number 26, approval of novel and textbooks adoptions.
Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda items 9 through 11, and then 13 through 24, and then 27 through 29?
So move. Second.
Motion by Geiger, second by Moore. Geiger?
Aye.
Meek?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Myers?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
Williams? Aye. Weiniger?
Aye.
Passes 7-0. All right, well, then we'll just start with 12, just so we'll go in order of number here. So,
Thank you. So I pulled this item just to initiate a brief conversation before we vote. It's an important topic for us as a board. One of the most important things we do is oversight of the district, and I think that's what our community wants us to do. The purpose of this calendar is to be really transparent with the community about that and to set our schedule so we can be effective in that role. I know we have not set the agenda yet for the retreat on December 4th, and we haven't had any conversations. I was hoping we could schedule time on that retreat agenda to touch base on our board self-evaluation, just calendaring it out for the year so it won't take much time to do that. But then secondly, spending time with the superintendent on the monitoring reports, because we really haven't had a chance to have a collaborative conversation together around data and the thinking behind it, and it seems like it would be a perfect opportunity, since we just passed the new end statements, to have a conversation on that early on. So I really wanted to pull it because I wanted to highlight those important items, see if we could commit to time on the December 4th retreat agenda before moving forward with approving the calendar.
so can I just ask, how much time do you think we would need for that? Just because I'm trying to put it all together right now.
So I think that's a conversation with the superintendent, and unfortunately, she's unable to be here
Okay.
this evening.
Well, we can do that at agenda planning. I just
Right.
wanted to kind of get an idea so that I could put together a,
I would think at
general.
least, ideally, an hour and a half to 2 hours. I think depending on what the superintendent's plan is, it may take less time. I've been thinking a lot about, I think districts sometimes struggle with monitoring because it can take up time from the staff, right? And what is the right balance between data that we would like to see and feel comfortable with? And I think having that conversation early on to try to find that right balance that works for us as a governance team is really important. I've been wondering if the district actually has a listing of all the data that they already compile because they're required to send it to CDE, where some of that data might just be naturally embedded within some of our monitoring. And so that kind of data, I think, would be really helpful to spend a little bit of time as a board looking at that retreat.
great. Any other comments around that? All right.
So with that, I will move to approve the board's planning calendar.
Second.
Motion by Meek, second by Weiniger. Let me get this. Geiger.
Aye.
Meek.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Myers.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Williams. Aye. Weiniger.
Aye.
Great. All right, on to item number 25. I pulled the approval of course and program proposals to specifically talk about the AP African American Studies. As you know, we've gotten emails, just concerns from constituents, and when we got the agenda that was posted on Friday evening, and I opened it up, I mean, obviously we have a lot to look at this week, and when I opened it and then I linked over into the College Board AP class, and it was like 441 pages is what I think it was. And so I don't feel I am prepared to vote on this at this time. I did reach out to Ms. Moses and let her know that I was going to pull it and ask for more time, just so that I can have a better understanding of A, what the community concerns are, but B, also to meet with her and discuss the course and just have a better understanding of it. So I am simply just asking and requesting time and wanting to move it to our next meeting. Director Thompson.
Yeah, so I'm curious the timeline that's needed for the course to have an approval from the board where it's not going to impact their ability to put it on the options for students. Because I think, right, we only have this come in October, right? And isn't that regulation policy?
Sure, I'm going to hand this question over to Learning Services Officer Matt Reynolds.
I can actually jump in on the timing side of it from a course guide standpoint. Typically, when we are pulling in new courses, we actually add those courses during December. And so it's that timing of trying to get them to either print or actually available for course registration, which happens in January. So timing of the event will make it tight in the sense, but if we had to try to work with a school, we could try to work with a school. It just may not be available for one of our schools, which actually already is going to start registration here in Thunder Ridge High School. So there is a challenge that we do have in that as well.
Director Meek.
Sure, just for transparency purposes, and something that I think I've learned is really trying to address the concerns that we've heard and having a conversation on that. So I've heard a few concerns in the emails that have come in. One was that the course has critical race theory concerns. And the way I understand the course proposal, and so I'm just setting the stage for the next conversation, if there is a future conversation that needs to happen. But the course proposal explicitly aligns with state standards and educational objectives focused on historical, cultural, and analytical skills, not CRT. The oppressor-oppressed ideology that was brought up as being a concern. The referenced materials are framed within their historical and social contexts, which is appropriate for an AP level course. Teaching about these frameworks equips students with analytical tools to understand complex societal issues without mandating agreement. It encourages open discussion, critical thinking, and alignment with Colorado academic standards for high school social studies. Another concern was monolithic representation of Black communities. The course content explicitly includes diverse subcultures within African American communities, Creole, Gullah. These discussions aim to heighten the richness and complexity of Black experiences rather than oversimplify them. So really, the AP American Studies course emphasizes analytical, historical, and cultural literacy. Students will engage with challenging ideas and develop the ability to critique and evaluate perspectives within a structured framework. I've been trying to do this research since the emails came in. And I think what's really interesting to point out, I mean, we have AP courses and IB courses that are already approved, such as AP European History, which covers themes like colonialism, imperialism, European political ideologies, which might trigger discussions about historical injustices or perspectives. We have AP Human Geography, discusses cultural patterns, global inequities, which might overlap with other sensitive societal and political themes. AP World History, AP US Government and Politics, where you're talking political systems, ideologies, debates around these political conversations, AP Psychology. I can go on and on, IB Global Politics, IB Philosophy. So courses that involve history, politics, or cultural studies are more likely to raise some of the concerns that I think we heard raised. And I think the more appropriate course of action for this board is to approve the course as opposed to disregarding the staff's recommendation, limiting our students' choices, and exercising curriculum censorship. I think what we need to do in the future is have a presentation on how our educators handle coursework, where the concerns raised here are inherent in the content of all of those courses that I just mentioned that are already approved. So I would suggest that a future conversation we have as a board is have a presentation where there's content framing. You know, how do these courses ensure a balanced representation of historical, political, and cultural narratives? How does it align with the standards? How are instructors trained to hold those conversations and be prepared to potentially handle those contentious topics? And, you know, what do these courses contribute to critical thinking, cultural competence, and preparation for global citizenship? So I know that was really long-winded. I think what I was trying to say is this AP course has a lot of value. I hear the concerns that were raised, but I think those concerns are inherent in many, many, many AP and IB level courses that we have. So a more responsible course of action is really to talk about how we handle those in the classroom, not censor our curriculum opportunities for our students.
I'd like to be clear, I just want to gather more information before I'm prepared to approve it myself. So that's my only request. Anybody else? Director Geiger.
My concern, first of all, this class has been vilified nationwide by, I fear, people whose motives were less than pure. I don't mean to say that everybody who emailed us doesn't believe what they said, but they repeat a number of myths about this course that have been perpetuated both on social media and by some politicians. And that gives me concern. My biggest concern is this class went through the process that we have designated for approving classes. It has been reviewed by experts nationwide. It has been reviewed by the College Board. It has been subjected to criticism and revision, and now the people in our district have looked at it, reviewed it, and found it to be appropriate for our students. Let's emphasize this is an AP class. I'm not aware that we go into any school and draft people to take an AP class. I'm not aware of any kid who takes an AP class without consulting with their parents. So this is about, in some ways, about parents' rights. A lot of the people that are writing opposed to this at other times write to me all in favor of a parent's rights, but now they want to take away the right of other parents to enroll their kids in a class they want to attend. Some of the emails we got are thoughtful and considerate. Many are not. Many of them spout CRT or DEI as if those are somehow magic phrases. We have a choice every time. We can have a process in Douglas County where we trust the education experts, or we can have a process where a small group of people who are constant commenters, who are politically active, are going to somehow have a veto over what our kids read, over what our kids hear, and what our classes say. I am glad, at least, that Director Williams, that you have guaranteed that if we don't rule on it today, we'll rule on it at the next meeting, because my concern was that this was going to get tabled and never be back. And that's what we cannot do. This is an important class. It should be addressed. I have not seen anything that gives me great concern about this class, again, because it's voluntary. There will be no child that takes this class that is not capable of understanding it with the aid of a good teacher, and clearly, we have excellent teachers who will handle this. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if it's really what the critics have to say. We don't have to continue it if there's no demand for it, but clearly there is at this point. I am concerned. I don't want to disregard public commentary, but I also don't want us to put us in a position where a small number of people, even if they are somewhat politically influential, are having a veto power over this. I trust our educators. I try to communicate that to one of our emailers. I was told that experts are liars and manipulators. That's an unfortunate truth of what some people think. I'm going to trust our administration because they've earned that trust. And so while I understand that when you get a dozen emails on the same subject, you might want to step back, this is not one where I'm willing to jump the process because of that political pull.
Director Thompson.
Yeah, so I just have a question. So we have 5 courses
Yes.
on this agenda item.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, 1, what happens to those other ones? But then 2, why this course, and what are the specific concerns that you have that you're trying to address by asking for more time?
So first, we could just approve the other, courses that are on there. And then just pull this one off and give it the additional time. As I said, I didn't have time to go through everything to feel comfortable, and I feel like the emails that we have received, I've also received phone calls, that it is our responsibility as board directors to do our due diligence, and I just don't feel like I had enough time to prepare for this. So I'm just requesting until the December 10th meeting. As I said, I reached out to the teacher, told her that that this is what I intended to do because I didn't want to surprise anyone. And I'm scheduling a time to go meet with her so that I can understand more and I can answer questions of the public a little bit better when I have sat down and had that discussion.
Okay, so I'm just curious, like what specific concerns you're hoping to address through this review that you don't feel is necessary for the review of the other courses?
Well, all the things that Director Meek brought up, the critical race theory, I want to make sure it aligns with our equity policy. Just all the concerns that we've gotten from our constituents.
Okay. So just since we're here talking about it, I did prepare a statement. I think first, I appreciated the comment during public comment that this course is student selected. The students are asking for it. And I also thought it was really compelling to hear about how it's a gateway course, and it opens up opportunity for students to feel welcome in an AP class, and might encourage them taking other AP classes, which of course is fantastic. And so with that, I'll say the inclusion of this AP course in our district aligns with providing well-rounded and inclusive education. It's not about advancing political ideologies. It's about offering students the opportunity to study the rich and complex history, culture, and contribution of African Americans, a history that is deeply intertwined within the story of our nation. Some have expressed concerns, yes, about critical race theory, but it's important to clarify that African American Studies AP course is not CRT. It aligns with the same goals as other advanced placement courses to challenge students academically, to encourage critical thinking, and to broaden their understanding of the world. CRT has become a shorthand for any discussion about race or racism, especially those conversations that challenge traditional narratives or raise uncomfortable truths. This has made CRT a focal point in broader political and cultural debates about education. This course will help prepare our students for a diverse and interconnected world. It allows them to engage in meaningful discussions about history, literature, and society, equipping them with knowledge that they need to thrive as informed citizens. Providing this opportunity is not only an investment in their education, but also in the values of mutual respect and understanding that strengthen our community. So by supporting this course, we can reaffirm our commitment to empowering students through education and ensuring that they have access to the full scope of knowledge about our shared history. And finally, again, as it was noted in our public comment, this is an elective course, so students can choose not to take it. Thanks.
Director Moore.
I have a couple thoughts, and I personally appreciate all the opinions that we're talking about here, because I think this is an important topic. And on its face, the concept of African American studies should not bother anybody. It's an important topic. It's part of our history, and I'm a huge believer in we should all understand where we've been and how we got to where we are, and so that we don't reinvent or the wheel or make some mistakes that have been made in our past. However, a couple thoughts. One, some questions have been raised by our community, and I don't really know how to answer those yet because I did not have time to dig into the curriculum either, just to be able to effectively respond. And I feel like I should try to do that if that becomes necessary. Second of all, I don't disagree with Director Geiger and the thought process that this class has been, or most classes are vetted by a group of staff up through the administration before it comes to us. However, the end result, final decision, and the responsibility rests with the board. And so I do think that even though it has been recommended by staff up until this point, we have received a number of questions and comments that merit us to at least learn a little bit more about this before we move forward. The last thing is just to talk through the logic that some of the citizens that reached out just asked that this be opened up for public discussion so that in the next board meeting, people could come and present their positions on this. I'm a big believer in hearing from hearing from our community and how they feel and what they want to hear from us and what they expect from us. And I may or may not agree with many of the things that were presented in some of the emails, but again, I don't have enough factual knowledge to defend my position at this point, number one. But number two, I do think we owe them the opportunity, if they want to come and speak to us, to give them that. And I don't think waiting roughly 30 days to allow them to do that is a bad thing.
Director Weiniger.
Yeah, I agree with Director Moore. I am not opposed to this class. I do have similar questions about the content, and I have respect for the community that has those questions to get those answered so that they can feel good about this class being offered to Douglas County students as well. and I'm looking forward to learning more. And if there's student interest in this, then I really hope that it is answers those questions well, that it does represent different viewpoints, as Director Meek pointed out, and opens topic for debate. It's not trying to push certain ideologies that some people are worried that it might do. So I'm open to hearing more, and I would love more time to really feel good about voting yes on this course when the time comes.
Director Meek?
So I'm just curious what the game plan would be for us learning more about it. Are we expected to go individually and meet with a teacher? Are we going to have a presentation at the next board meeting? Are we going to ask the community to submit questions and then have a Q&A, kind of similar when we were purchasing the Legacy campus? We took all the questions in and we had a Q&A and we had answers to everything. I'd like to kind of know what the process is so it doesn't turn into a 4-hour public comment and whoever can have the most commenters attending. Like, I don't think that's a valid way to make decisions. I think it's extremely important for us to hear from our community, and I value that. And I think we're going to hear different opinions. So I'd like to know what our plan would be for learning more about the content to make an informed conversation if you don't feel confident today.
Well, I can only speak for myself. I mean, that's why I scheduled a time to go speak with a teacher, but also I will have time to look through all of the material so that I would feel more comfortable and I just haven't. But I'm open to. I'm open to a presentation or, I mean, however the board wants to do it. I just, is everyone open to a presentation? Yes, go ahead.
So this may be a topic for a lunch and learn opportunity for the Board of Education. And if there is an interest in that, that is something that I could work with Superintendent Kane on and others in order to prepare for that opportunity to learn.
I think that would be great. Director Meek?
I also think it would be extremely helpful to just have a response to the concerns. So for example, what I came up with tonight was from research I did on the fly very quickly, but I think it would be really helpful to have a district response to the concerns that were raised. I think that's valuable.
So do you want me to get you those questions?
Yes, if you could please provide the questions that you would like responded to by staff. I will work with Superintendent Kane in regards to a response.
Perfect. All right. Director Thompson?
I would just like to proactively offer up the definition of CRT, because I think part of the challenge here is just not a full understanding of what CRT actually is. And then my questions are around this timeline, because I have concerns that we won't be able to vote on this in time for this to be added to the course books.
Well, I think Assistant Superintendent Windsor said that it might struggle with one of the high schools, but the other ones, it would be tight, but we could make it work.
Yeah, we can come back and talk with assistant principals around master scheduling and course guides, just to see from a timing standpoint, if we do keep that December, I think we can try to make sure it's ready to roll and put into our course guides. If it's beyond that piece, it will limit the ability to to register for the course.
Director Meek?
I mean, there's nothing stopping us from scheduling a special meeting in order to not limit opportunities for students as well. So it does bother me tremendously if postponing this vote is going to remove opportunities for students to take the course. So we have the ability to schedule a special meeting if we need to in order to meet a deadline. So that's another opportunity that we have as a board.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm fine if that's what needs to happen to make it possible. So what I would like to do is first go ahead and make a motion to approve the, I'm not sure how to do this because they all have the same, the IGA-E1s. It looks like there are 4 of them. So attachments 2 through 5, just to go ahead and approve those.
I think it's probably best if we just say the architecture concurrent enrollment proposal, the computer-aided drafting concurrent enrollment proposal, the future educator concurrent enrollment proposal, and the Spanish for professionals concurrent enrollment proposals. Are those the 4 that you're asking about approving?
Yes.
I so move.
Second.
All right, motion by Geiger, second by Weiniger. Geiger?
Aye.
Meek?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Myers?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
Williams? Aye. Weiniger?
Aye.
Great, and then the motion that I will make is to postpone the AP African American Studies to our next board meeting unless we hear back that that is going to cause issue, to then schedule a special meeting if necessary. Yeah.
Second.
Motion by Williams, second by Weiniger.
So discussion,
Yes,
please?
yeah.
Can you just clarify the motion one more time? I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Yes.
The motion was to postpone this approval or discussion until the December 10th meeting unless
We need
an
discussion.
earlier meeting must be scheduled to meet the deadline for course approval? Okay.
Yes. All right, so I'm sorry, it was motion by Weiniger, or no, it was motion by Williams, second by Weiniger, yeah. Geiger,
Nay.
Meek,
No.
Moore,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Williams, aye. Weiniger,
Aye.
passes 4-3. All right, and then we will move on to item number 26, approval of novel and textbooks. Director Myers pulled that one.
And this is actually in regards to the number of emails that we received for the book Out of the Easy. So, and I've since answered all the emails, and I actually came up yesterday and got the book and read it. But as a retired librarian, that's what we did. 15 to 20 books a week. Now, I know I was a middle school librarian. I know some of the concerns are the language, making sure parents understand. Now, this is my understanding, this is an honors course, and it's not a required reading. Is that correct, Mr. Reynolds? They'll be given a list of novels that they can choose from for this honors class?
Yeah, so for honors classes, they do have a list of novels that they could potentially use. Once they decide to use a novel, then they would make it available for all students in that class.
And maybe understand that this was a high school that requested this. So if it is approved, then all high schools would be able to.
Yes, it would be open to all high schools to be able to use on the approved novel list.
Okay. So, and there's also some sexual situations that are talked about in the book, and some violence. But I can tell you, even as a middle school librarian, I purchased books that were age appropriate. Did I have parents that were against, even in the library, books that I had bought? Yes. And my response was always, thank you for doing your job as a parent. And so as much as we try to get through every book, it's difficult, especially in a library. But I can tell you this group followed the process, and I'm very familiar with this process of proving novels for the classroom, which is a little bit different. I mean, this book's probably in the library, but it's a whole different process to try to get this into a classroom for approval reading. I was going to reach out to the teacher, and I thought, I think that it's always best if parents know what their kids are doing in school. I actually addressed the situation, I addressed all the emails, I believe. I think it was more than 10, but less than 20 regarding this book. And from my understanding, there's 3 books by this teacher because it will be an author study. And when I started it, I thought, I'm 5 or 10 pages in, but I actually ended up liking the book by the time I finished today and shut the pages. Is there language? Yes. There's not any graphic, sexual, explicit scenes. It is set in a brothel. And maybe I can explain that. I think sometimes we think in Douglas County that we're immune to situations, but I know, being on the Douglas County Youth Commission, that there are situations in this district that are very eye-opening, very concerning, and we have things going on right in this district. And so I'm not encouraging that everybody go out and get the book, but everybody that I wrote back, I said, pick up the book and read it. And that's what I always encouraged any parent to do. So I honestly think it's an age-appropriate book for 9th through 12th graders. Honestly, and I mean, some people don't want to hear this. They've seen, they've heard, they've watched way more than what's in this book. That's way worse. So, I mean, these kids, I've walked the halls. I've heard the kids talk. I know how they talk. I know what they say. I know what they talk about. And so can we monitor everything? No, I honestly believe that that's the parent's job. So I think this book is I looked at it, and when you look at the people that review this book and they read all the reviews, but they're required, I know parents, many on that group are required to read the whole book. So that's what I did. I came in and got the book, and I read it as late as I could last night after SAG, and as much as I could today. So I'm going to agree that this is a book that is perfect for, I'm not going to say perfect for high school, but it's age appropriate.
Director Thompson?
So thank you. I think that it's helpful when we hear comments coming in from the public and they have concerns, that it is helpful that we pull it and have a discussion about it. And I think it was helpful to hear a librarian's perspective. So I appreciate that you did that. I also have just a lot of confidence that our district staff considers things like age appropriateness seriously. And, there's, in the review process, which is posted in the agenda, they talked about, yes, there's settings like it includes a brothel, but there are no in-depth descriptions of sexual encounters. And again, all kind of the similar things, and also in alignment with what you're saying. So I appreciate that you talked about it. I appreciate that you pulled it and addressed those concerns directly. Thanks.
Director Weiniger?
Yes, agreed. I appreciate you pulling it for respect for the citizens who had concerns, and I didn't get a chance to read it. So I was like, oh no, we're going to have a book in here with graphic depictions without parent permission. But it's good to hear that there actually isn't anything graphic or explicit in here. So to me, that sounds like it is age appropriate for high school. And yeah, I appreciate it. Director Myers, thank you.
And I would also like to point out that parents at any time, if they're concerned, can always reach out to their teachers and have a discussion and get alternate material if they so choose. So stay engaged in what your kids are learning. Yes, Director Geiger?
Echo all of that, and of course, Director Meyer, the effort is greatly appreciated. My kids are in their 20s. I know from recent high school that my kids can get anything far worse than this on their phones, no matter what app you put on it. I trust our teachers, again, because Director Myers and I have dealt with same at-risk. Once you've been in court with 3 or 4, 14 or 13-year-old mothers, the idea that a book's going to cause problems begins to fade a bit. Obviously, we're not going to do porn. Obviously, our teachers are not going to recommend porn. My concern with some of these emails is there tends to be a group think. Somebody reads one thing that they don't like and they tell somebody else. It's quite clear that most of the people who objected to the book hadn't read it and were relying on one version. I didn't get a chance to read much more than a few excerpts from the book. I didn't understand the issue. Director Myers took the time. I, at this time, think that this is an appropriate book. Again, if you don't like it, if you as a parent don't think your kid should read it, pay attention to what your kid's class is doing. I cannot understand people who 1 week write to me about parental choice and the next week write to me about denying other parents choices for their kids. I cannot wrap my head around that inconsistency. I agree. I think we need a motion to adopt that agenda item 26, and I think Director Myers should make that motion.
I do have it. I do. I make the motion to accept item 26, approval of novel and textbooks adoptions.
I second that.
Okay, motion by Myers, second by Geiger. Geiger?
Aye.
Meek?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Myers?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
Williams? Aye. Weiniger?
Aye.
Great, passes 7-0. On to the approval of minutes. The recommendation is that the Board of Education approves the October 8th board minutes as presented. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
Motion by Meek, second by Myers. Geiger?
Aye.
Meek?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Myers?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
Williams? Aye. Weiniger?
Aye.
Great, passes 7-0. All right, we will then move on to item number 31, our first study action item, which is our response to the bond election. This is just a discussion amongst us to just be happy for a moment and relish in the excitement that 5A passed after 3 years. And I would like to very gracefully eat my words because I, no way, shape, or form believed that the survey results were accurate at 60%. And in fact, they were exactly right on. So I will eat my words and say thank you to everyone who has worked hard on the campaign, both in the Invest in DCSD and then all the volunteers that helped. I know all of us have been out in our own capacities and cabinet and their own capacities doing, having conversations, knocking doors, painting cars, and all the things. So thank you, everyone, for your dedication in this. I'm so, now 5A and 5B, the old 5B, and now 5A has passed, so I'm excited. Onward and upward. Director Moore.
I just want to, and again, ditto to all the appreciations that were discussed earlier in the meeting by Deputy Superintendent Hyan and you addressed as well. I want to address just a little bit of interesting feedback that I've heard since 5A passed, and it came from some folks who have now learned about the growth and decline discussion and feel like, hey, why would we approve a bond to build new schools when we're going to potentially close some schools, and doesn't it make sense, and is it a waste of money, and all legitimate questions. I mean, there's so much going on with a lot of the decisions here. I just want to make clear that in order for us to do the right thing, in my opinion, on behalf of the district and all the families that live in Douglas County, including the people who are moving to brand new neighborhoods, is that we had to figure out a way, and we'll always be stuck with this responsibility, to make sure we have schools, especially elementary schools, in reasonable proximity, whether they are charter schools or whether they're neighborhood schools. We have to make sure that new neighborhoods that grow in our community have neighborhood or have elementary schools reasonably close to their neighborhood whenever we possibly can. The district has never, as long as I've been a part of the board or had kids in the district, has never felt it was a good idea to take students and force them out of their feeder area to another school unless it was absolutely necessary, and usually when that was the case, it was temporary, in lieu of in the time when a new school in their community would be built that they would be able to attend if they so chose. And this decision on 5A and how we explained where the new schools would be located and why those decisions were made have been talked about very openly for a long period of time, as has the issue of growth and decline. We have not talked specifically about what communities exactly would be affected because those evaluations are still ongoing. And that was really the next step. But the reality was what we had to have was a place for the kids that already are displaced from their communities. They're in other schools. We had to have a place for those kids. We know where those kids were going to eventually land and end up back in their communities before decisions could be made about then what schools may need to change where they call home. Again, trying to factor in the not affect anybody's feeder area. And so I just want to make the point that we aren't ignorant to the concerns that people may have about why would we pass a bond to build schools when we're going to close schools. But those decisions were necessary and intentional to be able to address the needs of the individual communities where these two issues, and they're connected but separate issues, live. And so we can make the right decisions and serve those communities, especially the growing ones.
Director Weiniger.
Yes, thank you so much to our taxpayers. And I also want, or not just our taxpayers, our voters who all voted yes for this for our schools, and everyone who's been here since 3 years ago when this momentum just started going. Krista Gilstrap, Julie Goodwin, Sandra Brownrigg, all these people that just started it, and now we're here, and there's many more included. So it felt very good to finally get Sterling Ranch, their elementary school, and just all these other capital needs that our district has been so badly wanting. As far as transparency goes, we have a committee set up, the Mill Bond Oversight Committee, who now will definitely keep going and overseeing that spending is how it was promised. And they also will have a little bit of some say or recommendations around certain parts of the spending when it comes to the premium, and I believe that some parts of the interest. So if you're interested in joining the MBOC and learning more about that, you can go to our website, and we do have some openings, I believe. So you can be more in the details on that. So thank you again, everyone in Douglas County, for getting that passed for our kids.
Director Thompson. Thank you. I share in Director Weiniger's sentiment, and I believe Parker has an opening, last I checked, for the MBOC. So I just would like to share my deepest gratitude to all of you guys for your support of 5A. This milestone, I think, represents more than just funding. It's a powerful commitment to the future of our children, our schools, and our community. So thank you to my fellow board directors. And to our voters, thank you for believing in the importance of safe, modern, and inclusive learning for all students. Your decision ensures that we can address long overdue repairs, enhance security, and build schools needed to support our growing neighborhoods, as well as support our neighborhoods in decline. So together we've made an investment that will benefit generations to come. And then to our incredible volunteers, our staff, and leadership, this achievement is a testimony to your dedication, your vision, and hard work. Our leadership team worked tirelessly to develop a thoughtful bond plan, engage our stakeholders, and ensure the public was well informed. From shaping the bond proposal to managing the details, your efforts provided foundation for all of this success, so thank you. And for our volunteers and staff,
Thank you for amplifying these efforts through countless hours of outreach, organizing, and advocacy. Whether you shared our vision door to door, made calls, or coordinated events, you were instrumental in bringing our community together to get this over the finish line. So again, thank you to everybody.
Director Geiger.
138,291 votes in an almost 90% turnout election. 59.54% of the people who came to the polls that day decided to support our schools. I look at people that I have worked with on the Mill Bond Exploratory Committee for the last 5 years, people who I walked streets with, people who I discussed with and worked with on the board, and I was very clear. I didn't need 60%, I didn't need 52%, I need 50.1. But to get this turnout is a testament to a vast amount of work by a vast amount of people. Building leaders, administration. I walked streets with some of these people. Teachers, 100% teachers, parents, organizations that support this district in every possible way. One of the most astonishing things was every time we've done this in the past, there was organized opposition. And I do believe that because of the unfailing work of Superintendent Kane, who should be here to take a bow, we've overcome that. We proved what we needed. And we will do this right. I don't have any doubt about that. I look out at our new employee, Jackie Millay, who will be helping us spend this money right with her vast experience. I look at the MBOC and the people on that committee who don't even wade into the weeds, they wade into the seeds on the weeds. If any of this money is misspent, as much as a quarter, we will hear about it. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for believing that this mattered. We have emphasized the new schools, those are vital. But I am, as you know, as a long-term member of the Long Range Planning Committee, I've been looking at our capital needs for a decade now. The idea that we are going to put $180 million back into our existing buildings, and that's everything from new heaters and boilers and air conditioning units to new carpet and new stages and no seats, and to remind every kid every day that when they walk in our schools, we care about their environment. There is absolute, clear, peer-reviewed evidence that improves the learning results. And we have proven now, finally, that we care. $15.3 million to assist our special education resources. $8.3 million to replace buses and improve transportation. Another $10 million to continue to improve our security. Every time you go into a school, and I've gone into 24 of them in the last year, they have a list of what they need. It may be as simple as the fact that the carpet in the entryway is frayed, and it may be the fact that they can't communicate with their school resource officer, and all those are going to get fixed. This is going to be amazing. It is going to be a mass amount of work. I look at every person in this cabinet, and I know how much it's going to take for them to get this done. Mr. Cosgrove, I know, will be working as many hours as he can find to make this work. Ms. Schlusser will be making sure that he has the money to do it. Obviously, I get emotional about this because I walked a lot of streets and I talked to a lot of people and I worked with a lot of great human beings to get this done. It's not just that we get to turn over a shovel full of dirt in Ridgegate or Sterling Ranch. It's that 2 years from now, kids who ride the bus for 20 minutes will walk to school. That has to matter. Thank you all 138,291 of you.
Director Myers.
So I agree, everything that's been said by our directors. I don't think we can say thank you enough. Third time's a charm. So, and it's difficult talking to a certain percentage of our community That's probably the community that I'm in with no kids in school. Although I do have grandkids in Douglas County schools. But the need for this is great. And I can't, someone, especially being a retired teacher, knows that we have to keep these buildings up. We have to build in areas where we need to be built. And I know some of the emails that we received regarding closures, and Douglas County is responsible for Douglas County. We don't raise Highlands Ranch money for Highlands Ranch schools. We don't raise Crystal Valley money for Crystal Valley schools. Douglas County supports Douglas County. And if there's any question about how this money is being spent, we're transparent. It's on our website. You can go there if you want to look through how many pages, I don't even know, of how this money is going to be spent. There will be accountability. So thank you, and thank you, Julie, Krista, all of you guys that put this together and did this for us. Thank you.
Director Meek.
Sure. There's been lots of thanks, but I'll go ahead and add mine. A big thank you to my fellow board members for putting this on the ballot and sticking with it. And third time was a charm. Huge thank you to staff who worked tirelessly to put together materials and resources and do everything to get it past the finish line. And huge, huge, huge thank you to our volunteers who year after year were out there talking to our community. And I've really been reflecting a lot on what really made a difference this time. And I think first, I felt like the clarity of the language used in the bond proposal played a significant role, and thank you to Director Moore with working with the polling company. I think having the board work with the polling company, trying to ensure that the language would resonate with voters. So I think the bond language was really important. I think the time spent explaining the bond process and demonstrating to the community the need. So we had the webinars happening, we had principals explaining what the need was locally, the infographics and the materials that just showed, the mill levy rate, how it's impacted, like all of that, I think made a huge difference with explaining to the community. And I think that really shows respect to our community, that we're taking the time to make sure that they understand why we have the need and what that need is and was. And then lastly, I think the board and the superintendent has really been operating more as a responsible governance team, and I think it has built trust with the community. I went back and I put our past polls into AI and did a little analysis with all of the polling back 2018 through today. And it's really an interesting read to see where the community was with their trust in the board. And I think we as a team earned back some of that trust over the past year. So I think it's a combination of clear communication, transparency, and responsible governance that really made a tangible difference in some results that I don't know if we've ever seen such strong results in the past. So again, a huge thank you to our community for believing in us and trusting in us. And I, for one, am committed to living up to that trust moving forward.
All right. That concludes item 31. We'll move to item 32, the bond next steps. All right, so we are going to start with some additional thank yous. So there's never too many from what you just said. So we have a video that we would like to share with you in that regard. And then our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Cosgrove, and our Chief Financial Officer, Janice Schleichner, and many others will be presenting upon the next steps operationally and financially. So we'll start with the video, and then I will invite them to the podium to take us through.
From all of us here at Sand Creek, we want to thank our community for supporting and voting yes on 5A. Thank you for supporting our school.
Hello, Douglas County community. This is Michelle Frenchie, the proud principal of Stone Mountain. I am here with our third graders. I wanted to say thank you to our community for the passage of 5A. We truly appreciate your support. The Stone Mountain students would like to say, thank you!
Douglas County community, on behalf of the school leadership department, we want to thank you for helping pass 5A. The benefits to our schools and to our learning community will be fantastic. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Candace Lavier, the principal of Copper Mesa Elementary, and we just want to say, thank you, Douglas County voters!
I just wanted to make sure that all the families and community members of our fabulous Douglas County School District just know how appreciative we are of saying yes and voting for 5A.
Heritage Elementary would love to say thank you to the Douglas County voters for the passing of 5A. Thank you!
Thank you! Thank you, voters of Douglas County. The passing of 5A is going to allow us to do some tremendous things here at Legacy Campus.
Fox Creek Elementary School would like to thank the Douglas County voters for passing 5A.
Thank you!
On behalf of Iron Horse Elementary School,
Thank you, Douglas County voters, for passing 5A. We appreciate your support.
Clear Sky Elementary thanks you so much.
Thank you.
Hi Douglas County voters, my name is Katie Lynch and I'm the proud principal at Northridge Elementary School. I wanted to thank you for passing 5A, the measure for the bond for Douglas County schools.
On behalf of all of the principals in Douglas County, we want to thank the taxpayers for approving 5A. We will all now get some much needed upgrades and maintenance done at all of our campuses. Thank you, Douglas County.
Good evening, directors. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce this next topic. And waiting for the slideshow here. 1 second. Here we go. Again, personally and professionally, I just want to thank everyone for the bond. It will continue to enable us to have the best schools, safe, code compliant, and the best learning environments for everyone, every student, teacher, and community member. I simply want to give a quick overview of the operational and financial next steps that you'll see in this presentation. We are so far ahead in the planning process for this bond. We were the first major school district on the Front Range to have letters of intent with owners reps. We were the first one to have concept designs for our 2 new schools, Sierra Middle School Addition and Legacy. We brought so many items for your approval tonight. We are hitting the ground running. We have architects, we're already lining up contractors. We hired a fantastic bond director, and you'll meet Jackie in a minute. And overall, in the fall of '26, we're looking at completion of Legacy Phase 2, our cosmetology and auto shops at our high schools, and Highlands Ranch investments to support growth and decline. The next year, we'll have the completion of the Sterling Ranch and Ridgegate schools, Sierra Middle School expansion, and ongoing capital improvements district-wide in 4 years from 25 to 28. And then the financial next steps will be briefed by CFO Schleissner. And at this point, I want to introduce Jackie Millay, our bond director, to improve the efficiency of this bond and the outreach and the transparency and the coordination with all elected official bodies, with all permitting authorities. We have Jackie, a licensed professional civil engineer with a broad background of project and program management with community outreach and coordination, as well as the public process as the mayor of Lone Tree. And her qualifications go without notice, just unbelievable. And so at this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Jackie Millay, our new bond director.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and can I truly say what an honor it is to be here this evening? And it isn't something I anticipated in my future, but I would tell you, man plans and God laughs, and here I am. And I feel so grateful to be here. I want to add my congratulations to you and echo the chorus of thank yous for the successful passage of these bonds. And if I could add my 2 cents as a former elected official as to why it passed by such a healthy margin, it really is the credibility of our school district. And that credibility starts with our Board of Education, and it starts with all of you and the messaging that you put forward, and I want to commend you for it. It also is very important, the cabinet and all of the leaders within the schools. It's the work that's done every single day at the school district and in our schools that built that credibility and trust with our community, and I do not take lightly that trust and credibility is now sitting on my shoulders that I'm sharing with some of my fellow partners and collaborators. But it is our collective action over the next 4 years that is going to determine the success and future of this, not just in 4 years, but into the future. And please know that my goal is to position this organization to build on the great success that you have already achieved and position you for even more success after we build all these amazing projects. So let's talk about some of these amazing projects. But also before I do, I really do also want to say huge thanks to, well, the lone representative still here from our citizen committee that worked so tirelessly on this, because you know, your voice, it resonates very loudly in the community, and your investment is from your heart. So thank you to you and your team for that investment. It made a world of difference, and it was a long investment, so thank you for that. So, operational next steps. You got a high-level overview from Richard, so let me just go on. So tonight, you already did a lot of the heavy lifting. So you approved our owner's reps firms, you approved the hiring of the architects, and you started the request for conveyance of the property from the city of Lone Tree and from Douglas County with Sterling Ranch. The bond sale you are going to be entertaining next as I turn this over to our CFO. But as of right now, at the end of this week, I will be in communication along with the members on the bond team with school leadership, principals, and staff to let them know what is going to be happening, renewal and replacement at their schools. And during our dinner break before this meeting started, I already got peppered with some questions from some principals, so I know they're anxiously awaiting the results of this information. This week we'll also be finding out information from our rating organizations. Moody's is going to be on the 22nd, Fitch is going to be next week. There'll be one release that identifies what those ratings are, all of the great work that you have done, the great work that's done within the finance department. We expect those ratings to be excellent as they have been in the past. Then we will have the final pricing of the bonds on December 11th. And on the 19th, we anticipate closing of the sale of bonds. And again, our CFO will be getting into more detail on those things. Let's talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing over the course of the next 4 years. So our neighborhood charter magnet, alternative school, our capital renewal and replacement. We're going to be working in security, special ed, CTE, athletics, activity projects. We're all going to be completed during this summer months. I learned a new term. Summer wonders are what they're called. So you close the school, magic occurs, and the kids come back with the faculty, and there's an amazing new environment for them in the fall. Detailed project schedules, scopes of work will be coordinated with the school leadership. I recognize that communication and transparency, not just with our public, but also within the organization with the principals and their teams, so they know what's coming and what they can expect. And what I know for sure is that things will change. And what I can promise is that we will communicate that information in a timely manner as we possibly can. And my goal for myself and for these bonds is to not just be a good steward. You're going to hear me say this. You're going to get so tired of hearing me say this. Not just to be a good steward of these dollars, but the best steward of these dollars, because that's what our voters expect from us, and that is what I intend to deliver with support of you and all of the folks and our principals and the cabinet. So, for growth and decline, that'll be a fun, as you guys already know, it's going to be a tough one, but what we have to do is make some improvements and modifications to our schools as we go through that process. Fortunately, there's money in this bond to address those issues. We're going to begin that work as soon as we possibly can after the decision-making that occurs from you, letting us know the direction you want to go. Buses and vehicles were going to be purchased, and then staff and student device refresh will be completed over the course of these years. So let's talk a little more specifically in which years. Next year, Legacy Phase 2 will be completed in July of 2026. Highlands Ranch High School CTE program expansion also in 26, along with Douglas County High School cosmetology and projects to support growth and decline if we can get it all done, depending on the decision making. Some of that may carry over into 2027 with growth and decline, but our goal is to try and get it done in 26. Sterling Ranch Elementary School will be completed. Ridgegate Elementary School will be completed. I'm going to have a contest to see the biggest party for who's happier about getting these schools. I know Sterling Ranch has been waiting, and I do know that the Lone Tree community and the surrounds have not seen a new school in the 35 years since Eagle Ridge showed up. There hasn't been a neighborhood school, and as a 21-year resident of that community, I'm looking forward to seeing one come in. But in addition to that, God bless Sierra Middle School. I can't wait to get that work done. And boy, there isn't a school that deserves it more in the district. So looking forward to that as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to the brains in the organization who's going to talk to you about the important financial next steps. So thank you.
Thank you and good evening. We are so excited to be at this point. It's been a while since we've done it and we're thrilled. This is when the work for us really begins. This is the first step, is selling the bonds and get those funds in the door. We have a lot of really great professionals guiding us through this process because it can get a little complex. We have underwriters of RBC, we have Butler Snow for our outside legal counsel, and we have Hilltop, our financial advisors. So I'm going to pass this to Maddie. I practice this. Prodanovic, thank you. You think I could say last name right. So we're going to pass it to her and have her take us through some of what this sale is going to look like. Thanks, Maddie.
Good evening, directors, and thank you for having me. I'm going to apologize in advance for Director Weiniger and Director Thompson because they've already heard this presentation, but that means they can ask the good questions, right? So first and foremost, congratulations, just echo the sentiments this evening. I have worked with the district anecdotally since 2018, and for the last 3 years, you've probably saw me sitting back there in case questions came up about the ballot questions. So I'm very excited to be here in front of you guys today because that means it was successful. So I'm going to be going through kind of a little bit of a market update, some expectations of what we think we're going to get out of the pricing for the 2024 bonds, and then just sort of a big picture, what's in the resolution that you are considering this evening, because it is a fairly lengthy document, which is what I say there. So moving into the market update, I'm going to keep this kind of short and sweet, but from a big picture perspective, rates, this is sort of what's happened obviously over the last 12 years, now almost 13, but rates are relatively higher than they were, say, when we did like your refunding in early 2022, but still at, historical averages essentially. So we're still borrowing at cost-effective rates. I think a lot of folks look at mortgage rates and you hear things in the 6% or 7% or what have you. And, in the tax-exempt municipal world, sitting here today, we're expecting a borrowing rate of 4.25% for the district. So, the tax exemption helps, but also it's a very efficient municipal market. We do see very competitive rates sitting here today, not as low as we did in 2020 or 2021. But, I don't know that we'll ever get back to as low of rates as we had at that point in time. These graphs just kind of show a little bit of the detail around essentially what I just said, but the most important one I think to highlight here is the one on the bottom. The bottom bar of each bar essentially represents the lowest interest rate over that period of time, and the highest there is the high. The blue line is where we sit today. So we're not at highs over the last decade. We're sort of in that upper quarter maybe, but from a historical 30-year perspective, we're actually sitting right kind of smack dab in the middle. What I will note still is we are a bit inverted. The yield curve is a little bit inverted on the front end still, and a lot of that just has to do with waiting for Fed funds rates to continue to come down. Any question on the market? I try to keep that high level. So bond election, you guys are obviously very familiar with this. So, now 2 weeks ago, the district voters approved the issuance of $490 million of bonds. I know you all are very familiar with the format of the ballot question that was used, and without imposing any new tax and the extension of the maximum annuals from the prior election questions. But essentially what that requires is that all district general obligation bond debt service has to stay within that roughly $80.5 million annually. You'll see in a couple slides we are significantly below that, but that is our cap. In addition to that, we have to be able to have total repayment of all bonds related to the election within $895 million. Again, we still expect to be well below that. That's a constraint just because, as we'll talk about, you guys are going to be completing projects over several years, which means we are issuing bonds in multiple tranches, and we need to provide some flexibility for interest rate changes between now and then, because we obviously, if I had a crystal ball to know what interest rates would be in 2 or 3 years, I don't think I'd be standing here today. So the question of how much to issue and that concept around issuing multiple times. So in order for the district to issue tax-exempt bonds, you will need to certify, or your really Jana will need to certify that you have a reasonable expectation to spend 85% of the proceeds from the bonds within 3 years to get that tax exempt status. And that generally is why we can't turn around and say, okay, we're just going to go issue all $490 million tomorrow, because it's kind of hard to spend $500 million, rounding within 3 years. And so because of that, we're essentially breaking this up into 2 pieces. The first one will be $270 million. As Jackie just went through, there's a lot of big projects happening on the front end of this bond plan. So that $270 million plus some premium will get us likely through early 2027. And at that point, we would come back for a subsequent authorization to issue the second series of bonds related to this for that remaining $220 million of authorization. This is what the projected debt service looks like sitting here today. This is all really dependent on what happens with assessed value. We conservatively assume that assessed value is staying flat. That's not totally realistic for you all because of the amount of development happening. We expect assessed value to grow, but from our purposes and for legal purposes, we really want to keep this as conservative as we can. That blue line at the top is essentially what we are projecting for revenue from the district's existing 5.204 mills for debt service, so that mill levy is not changing. If assessed value does not grow, then you'll see those 2 years in 27 and 28 when that debt service, those bars are slightly above that line. We'll actually use some of the district's bond redemption fund balance to help offset that, to be able to keep that mill levy constant for voters. If assessed value grows, then we would essentially use less of that bond fund balance. Sitting here today, I believe the total repayment, just for your references, that we are estimating is about $865 million compared to that $895 in the ballot question. So we're already well within that parameter. So bond premium, this is a bit of a complicated topic. I'm going to try and explain it, but essentially, bond premium is generated in the municipal market based on the difference in the coupon, which is the interest rate that you all are paying, and the yield that an investor is getting. Investors in the current market environment typically prefer a 5% coupon, but we would expect to sell your bonds at yields that are significantly lower than that. And so that differential is what results in premium. Bonds can be sold at a discount, so essentially the opposite of that, where you're actually getting less upfront than what you're selling. We do not recommend doing that for voter authorized debt because you deserve to get every dollar that you ask for, and you need enough funds to obviously to complete projects. We do sometimes see demand for a lower coupon, so something like a 4% coupon or a 4.5% coupon. The buyer base for that is much more limited, which can make that less effective or efficient in pricing because, right, typical supply demand for us to get you, the best investor preference and investor demand for your bonds. We obviously want to market those at attractive interest rates. If there is a lower coupon, obviously there is less premium. I think the conversations we've been having with the district thus far, and this is similar to the approach that was taken in 2018, is to basically see what the market asks of us. So we will take investor requests for various couponing. We, as the district's municipal advisor, will then evaluate those and determine what's in the best interest of the district, given the goals and objectives of the borrowing. So how to manage for bond premiums. So sitting here today, well, last week, but rates haven't changed all that much, we would assume that the district would likely generate about $30 million of premium from that $270 million of par. Obviously, it is very contingent on what happens with interest rates. So you'll see that's what that table is meant to represent. Rates go up, that premium goes down. Rates go down, premium goes up. Since premium generation is a very common occurrence in the tax-exempt municipal market, and not just for school districts, this is for truly everyone. The City of Lone Tree sold COPs earlier this year, and those generated premium. There are a couple of strategies that we can use sort of to how to manage that premium, and that's just outlined here. Many districts utilize that premium to cover inflation and project costs, because again, you are borrowing up front for a 3-year financing or construction plan, and you don't necessarily know all those costs sitting here today. Another is to fund additional projects, which I believe Director Weiniger mentioned as far as the MBOX involvement in reviewing projects and the spend of proceeds. You can downsize the overall borrowing. So essentially what this would mean is you would reduce the par amount issued to size for the project fund, essentially, rather than, par plus premium to get to your total project fund amount. Or you can do what we really do not like, but some of our clients don't listen to us, which is incorporate that premium into the overall bond program and ask of voters. The reason we don't like doing that, as Director Geiger is shaking his head, is because premium is not guaranteed. And so what we do not like to do is have our clients commit to doing projects that we do not definitively know that they'll be able to fund. So I did just want to bring that to the attention. I think those are some continued conversations that'll be happening with MBOC, FOC, and obviously with you all and staff. But Jana did just ask that I cover that a little bit today. So the resolution, I think, is roughly 40 pages. So it's a lot of legalese. It has been drafted by Butler Snow, as Jana mentioned, your bond and disclosure counsel for this transaction, and Mary has reviewed it very closely as well. The keys to this we highlight here. The one that I really want to highlight is the not to exceed parameters when issuing bonds. So in the olden days, what used to happen is you go sell bonds in the morning, you'd have an emergency board meeting that night to sign off on the pricing, and then they'd turn around and go ticket orders the next day. You might imagine that investors don't totally love that, and neither do the underwriters. And so for the last decade plus, we've opted to do parameters resolutions, which essentially function as a box that we have to stay within to be able to price the bonds. So essentially the authorization is directed by you all for us to go sell bonds so long as we meet certain requirements, and then you're delegating the authorization to sign off on that to Superintendent, Chief Financial Officer at the time of pricing. There are other documents that are referenced in the resolution that are essentially approved in substantially final form this evening as well, which I note on the bottom. The most important one is that preliminary official statement. That is the disclosure document that is used to market to investors. So it has a lot of information about the district's financials. Jana and Colleen have spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks updating that and making sure that it accurately reflects the district's current financials, particularly as we are in audit season. So there's been a lot of back and forth on that. The parameters I note here, the biggest piece obviously is that $270 million. That's the authorized par amount that we're planning to issue with this first tranche. The rest are relatively straightforward for now. Essentially, it is saying that we have to stay within the maximum annual and total repayment requirements as dictated by the ballot question. That were the purchase price of those bonds. That means that you're getting at a minimum that $270 million in proceeds, and that the issuance doesn't cause the district to exceed its statutory debt limitation. So you may know school districts are limited to 20% of their assessed value in debt authorization or issuance at a given time. We are nowhere near that for you guys, so no problems there. But this is a requirement, obviously, for the district to be able to issue the bonds. And then just so you all get a sense of sort of what we've been doing and where we're going. So the district has been busily working. I think our first document review call was the day after the election. And so basically, as soon as we knew that the election was successful, we turned around and we're immediately starting to get ready to position you all to be able to sell bonds next month. We did have rating calls last week with Moody's and Fitch. The district currently carries ratings of AA1 with Moody's and AA+ with Fitch. The highest you can have is AAA. There are no AAA rated districts by Fitch, and there are only 2, I believe, by Moody's. And a lot of that has to do with para, honestly. Those liabilities get added onto your financial statements, and unfortunately, there's nothing that you all can do about that. We then will pivot to post that preliminary official statement, that disclosure document, as soon as we come back from Thanksgiving. And then we are targeting pricing the bonds on Wednesday, December 11th, and closing roughly a week and a day later. I do just want to note that in no way, shape, or form are you locked into pricing on that date. We obviously will be continuing to evaluate the market as we get to that point. And if something happens, the market was a little bit volatile right after the election and then kind of came back down. For the most part, it's been relatively stable since then. So knock on wood that continues. But we are not required to issue the bonds on that date. If it doesn't work or the market is volatile that day or that week, we can always pull it and come back in January. I think that is it. Questions? Yes.
Yes, this was a good question that was asked at the FOC meeting, so I just wanted to raise it here. So again, why December 11th? Why is that the good date? And you'd mentioned if December 11th does not work, then we could look at January and just how that might impact the process if we bump it by a month.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as far as targeting, I'll start with the pricing date, and then I can answer from the FOC meeting. But the pricing date was targeted primarily the first 2 weeks of December are going to be very busy in the municipal market generally, but Colorado market particularly. As you guys are well aware, there was a lot of school district debt on the ballot this November. There are also other municipal entities that have to go do their deals, right? And so what we worked with the other public finance community within Denver to kind of figure out pricing over those first 2 weeks, and a lot of it had to do with like when audits would be available and all those types of things. And so we picked December 11th essentially for the district and locked it in and stuck with it so that nobody else could take it. The key there is that the FOMC meeting is the following week, which we typically try to avoid because we just don't want to be caught by any noise potentially of the minutes that come out from that. And then additionally, that week typically kind of shuts down. So from December 15th till like right after New Year's, most investors don't really want to buy municipal bonds because they want to close out their books and enjoy their holidays with their families. So that is the focus for December 11th. If we do need to postpone, there is a reimbursement provision in the resolutions that the district has approved both in August and then also subsequently with this that essentially serves as a look-back period so the district can reimburse itself with bond proceeds. So if there are contracts that payments need to go out for starting in early January and we don't end up selling bonds until that month or close in later January or early February, those bond proceeds can then be used to reimburse the district for any costs spent on any project related to these. Anything else you guys want to add? Good. Okay. Director Geiger.
And again, just because we're going to be as transparent as we can, you're excellent at what you do. You are not an eleemosynary.
I am not, no. Not to my knowledge.
Can you, well, that's not the goal here. Can you explain for the public and for those of us who are going through this for the time, how you get paid, where that money comes from?
Yes. So I get paid essentially what turns out to be a fixed fee based on a contract that actually we just redid earlier this year. So I was selected, my firm was selected to serve as municipal advisor to the district from an RFP that was conducted earlier this year, as was the underwriter. I'll answer for them since they're not here. We are both, as well as bond counsel, paid out of proceeds of the bonds. If the district was to not pass any of the work that we did up to that point, we just don't get paid for. That's just sort of the nature of our business.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director Thompson.
Thanks. So I know that you discussed the premium and the rate, and I appreciate that. I just kind of want to elevate a concern from the community resident who, that maybe if we could just answer it directly, I think might be helpful. So it was a concern about selling the bond at a premium again, causing taxpayers to deal with a higher interest rate than the current market. And the ask was, can we just sell at the market rate and not erode trust more or again?
Yeah, so it is not common in the current market to sell bonds. What we would say is at par. So essentially where your coupon and your yield are the same. That used to be very common practice, honestly, until kind of post-Great Recession timeframe is when you really started seeing a lot of this premium concept become much more utilized, I guess I'll say. In that regard, we typically wouldn't recommend necessarily selling bonds at par, because it's not necessarily going to get you the most efficient pricing. From a standpoint of, the transparency, obviously, from our perspective, what we want to do is make sure that the district is getting, the most effective borrowing cost while also meeting investor demand. And in our view, sitting here today, that is by using those premium bonds. I think there's other strategies that we can discuss about how to adjust potentially the overall bond authorization and issuance related to that to address some of those concerns. But I think for now, the approach is that we're taking the same plan as we did in 2019 when we sold the bonds authorized from the 2018 election, which is that we're working on taking what the market gives us. So if we get a request from an investor for a lower coupon, that's something that we will evaluate. That did happen in 2019. We actually did sell a few of those maturities at lower coupons because that was an investor request that we thought was in the best interest of the district at the time.
Director Meek.
Thanks for the presentation, and actually this might be more for Jana. So sticking to that topic of the premium, so what criteria will be used to decide how the premium will be allocated? I think it's 30 million estimate or whatever.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So from staff's perspective, we're going to stick with that master capital plan and look to those things that are in that master capital plan. And then any additional projects that we add, which include premium, any interest that we get from investing these dollars once we get them, those requests will be taken to the MBOT committee and evaluated with them. They will then, I say approve, but it's kind of recommend the approval to the board, and then you all will look at those projects and give us the go-ahead to add those projects to the list or give us other suggestions to move forward with. Thank you.
But to be clear, we will not spend more than $895 million.
Correct.
Right, okay, just because that is another thing swirling on social media, that we overspend what we promise, and I just want to be clear that that's not a thing and we can't do that.
It is not a thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Reiniger.
I just want to thank staff and Ms. Millay and everyone for being very proactive and getting ahead of this, because there were so many other districts and other government agencies that had bonds as well. And as someone commented to me, the more you wait, the more expensive it gets. So thank you for being ahead of the game to save us money and to get these done, because we've been behind on trying to get a lot of these projects done. So just a lot of commending to you guys, and can't wait to hear what's next.
Then I believe there's a resolution that we have to approve. But yeah, Director Meek.
Move to adopt the bond
Hold
resolution.
on, sorry, Director Meek, sorry.
Sorry, and this goes back to the bond, the very first presentation that we looked at earlier. And I know our language on the ballot included specifically, including for students with special education needs. And I feel like we didn't really speak to that in the original slides up here. And I'm just wondering if there's any additional content that you might want to share or speak to maybe when we would receive additional information in that area. I just bring it up because that language is specifically called out in the ballot. And I can read it. Building additional career and technical education pathways, including for students with special educational needs. So I just felt like we didn't really address that too much in the slide deck.
Director Meek, thank you. That's an excellent question. In the approved bond plan, there are specific line items for not only special education, but ADA as well. And those will be reported to the MBOC as well, not only audits, but actually capital improvement projects, one of which we've already started the design for. So not only those line items, but every capital improvement plan project or new construction or CTE obviously needs to be fully special education supportive and ADA compliant. I don't have the breakout of the bond plan right in front of me, but there are specific line items for special education.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier, and I think it even speaks to CTE pathways.
It does.
So
Yes.
I'm just anxious. It's something I've been talking about for 5 years. It would be really, really exciting to hear a little bit more about that. And it may be early, we're 2 weeks in, but I was looking for something on the slide deck because I think it would be really phenomenal to be able to talk about that to our community.
Totally agree. Thank you.
If I could add, staff is in process of working directly with each other around the specifics around some of that. So if you could give us a little bit of time, then we'll be prepared to be able to provide you a more update.
Okay, now you can go, Director Geiger.
Apologize. I move to adopt the proposed bond resolution, all 40-some pages of it.
Second.
Motion by Geiger, second by Weiniger. Geiger?
Aye.
Meek?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Myers?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
Williams? Aye. Weiniger?
Aye.
Passes 7-0. Thank you all very, very much. And with that, we will move to a 15-minute recess and come back at 7:15.
All right, the Board of Education is back in session. We will move to our study actions items, the second portion. Item number 34, Board of Education Director District reapportionment.
Good evening, directors. Every 4 years, districts are required to analyze director districts to evaluate if they are balanced, and if not, to reapportion in order to balance those director districts. With me tonight, we have Siobhan Caldwell, our planning manager, and Shannon Bingham from Western Demographics. Siobhan will give the presentation. We have Shannon with Western Demographics here to answer any specific questions you may have. The purpose of the presentation is to provide you input and listen for your feedback on the scenarios discussed. So next board meeting, we can present on the consent agenda your preferred scenario for your approval. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Siobhan Caldwell, our planning manager.
Good evening, directors. So as COO Cosgrove said, state law requires districts to evaluate their director districts every 4 years to see if they're balanced. Approximately half of the school districts in Colorado use director districts, and 3% deviation from the average population of each district is industry standard and what's kind of been set in case law. The director districts are required to be compact, contiguous, and as nearly equal in size as possible. That's what the state mandate says. And DCSD has grown by approximately 36,400 people since 2020, and several of the director districts do exceed the population deviation from average threshold. So Shannon from Western Demographics, Inc. Performed this reapportionment. The criteria that was used was to try to balance population as much as possible, to deviate as little as possible from the average district, of 3% deviation, to maintain historic patterns of district representation, so to not change the shape and the form of what our districts have been in previous years drastically, to draw compact and contiguous districts, to follow natural and man-made barriers, and to also, where possible, strive for partial alignment with our elementary attendance areas. So here's a table that shows the existing population before reapportionment, and then gives the population of each district and the deviation from the average population for each scenario. Western Demographics has developed 3 scenarios for consideration, and we'll go over what the differences are there in addition to the table. So scenario 1 continues the historical split of Solstice and Sterling Ranch and Roxborough between districts A and B, and I'll show those maps in a minute, with the growing population in each. Additional portions of Highlands Ranch were included in District B in this scenario to adjust for that growth. Scenario 2 deviates from this historic sharing of the Sterling Ranch, Solstice, and Roxborough community by placing most of this development in District A to compensate for the population decline in Highlands Ranch. District B also adds a larger portion of Highlands Ranch and Daniels Park to compensate for this growth. Scenario 2 also reassigns Elbert County to 1 district instead of the already existing 2 to reduce District G population and simplify representation. I guess I'm gonna go back to this table really quick and show the population decline in growth that we're trying to address here with this reapportionment. So in general, we saw a growth in population in District G, as well as B, and then a decline in the Highlands Ranch districts. So that's the kind of adjustment that we're trying to do here. Scenario 3 is identical to scenario 1, except the retention of the division of Elbert County between 2 districts, so it leaves it in 2 districts, at the expense of splitting an elementary school attendance area elsewhere in the district to compensate. All scenarios address growth, do not displace any seated directors, and comply with state statutes. All scenarios reduce the area of District G to account for population growth there. The west side of District G was passed to District E. And all scenarios move population from District E to C to compensate for the growth in G and to compensate for the relative decline in population in the Highlands Ranch area. So this map, it shows the 2020 previous districts or existing districts actually in the red outlines. And then for each scenario, we have the colored symbology is the changes that were made. So you can see here in scenario 1, that historic split of Solstice and Sterling Ranch is maintained. Elbert County is consolidated into one district. G is decreased in size. There's a little bit closer. Shannon, do you have anything to say about the changes that were made here, other than the split or the retention of Sterling Ranch and Solstice?
You can see that A and C got smaller relative to the average district. So this is part of our North Central challenge, is that population growth in that area is not keeping up with growth elsewhere in the district. And so what we tried to do is make those two districts larger. So you can see A moved into District B a little bit, and then District C is in Charlie, moved into District E a little bit, and then we took District E into District G a little bit to balance that out.
And there's just some zoom-ins of the changes in District F and G and D, and as well as C and E. So scenario 2 retains that split of the Sterling Ranch, Roxborough community. It also consolidates G and F into one district. Those are the primary changes here between scenario 1 and 2.
Actually, in 2, we gobbled all of Sterling Ranch into A. So that's the difference here.
Sorry.
Is that
Right
you
there.
can see we came all the way south, and we picked up Sterling Ranch filing 3, and we picked up the rest of Sterling Ranch filing 6 into District A. So all of that new, yes.
And then scenario 3 is identical to scenario 1, excepting that it keeps Elbert County in 2 different director districts. And Shannon, do you know where at the expense of not aligning with the elementary attendance area occurs?
The 6 silent partner will say that right up off the northeast edge of the Big E, there's an elementary attendance area that I split in 2 to make that work.
Okay.
So this is like a big game of Jenga. When you move one population, something else pops out and you have to balance it. So right up in the Chambers Road corridor, I think, just north, the northern part of Looking Glass and Tantera, just south of Gold Run Elementary, I think that's the area that I had to split a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
And there it is right there. Whoops, go back, Siobhan. See right there, that little circle on the left, that's the area that I had to balance.
Thank you. So in summary, all scenarios, again, equalize population between the districts and minimize change as much as possible to preserve historic patterns of representation. Scenarios 1 and 3 retain the historic pattern of representation for Roxborough, Solstice, Sterling Ranch community, and makes changes to balance population elsewhere. Scenario 2, again, deviates from that historical pattern of representation in Solstice and Sterling Ranch, while balancing elsewhere in the district. Scenario 3 is identical to scenario 1, but retains the historic pattern of representation in Elbert County, so remaining in 2 separate director districts. And scenario 3 represents the best retention of long-term representation patterns while achieving the requirements of the statute. So what we are seeking from the board tonight is input and guidance on the preferred scenario and any suggested changes for when we bring this back at the December meeting for the final reading. Director Thompson.
Okay, so you're saying scenario 3, that's more aligned with like what we predict population growth to be, and so it might be more stable over time with.
I think it would be stable over time, but for the most part, one of the leading complaints I get from directors, having done over 175 or 180 of these, is that you changed all of my schools around. And so my pattern of receiving phone calls and relaying board concerns to administration is completely different. And did you have a good reason for doing that? And so what I try to do is preserve that historic pattern of representation so that individual board members' style and the style of a board in general, as far as how they represent their stakeholders, is not unduly disrupted by a reapportionment. So that's what we tried to do there. So number 3 keeps as much of that historical pattern together as possible, but it balances the populations within 3%. And the census wasn't actually collected until, or reported until April of 2022. So the 2020 numbers were based on estimates as we went along, because everybody who does reapportionments in the United States, all we had were estimates. So there were some pretty significant changes because we actually had hard data instead of an estimate. So I was really trying to work to balance population given that big change, but simultaneously preserve the historic pattern of representation. And I think in that Sterling Ranch Solstice area, the way we've got it divided among 2 directors, we may be able to continue that for one more cycle or so. But after that, I think A will probably have to gobble up that whole area eventually. So we'll just see. But I think in 4 years, we'll be able to hang on to that for one more cycle.
Director Weiniger.
You said some of the elementary schools changed with this reapportionment scenarios. Did any of the high schools change? Because I know one of our districts doesn't have a high school, so I didn't know if there was like some need to add a high school to that one.
So I'm probably right on the verge of a coughing bout here, but I'll try to answer your question. The number of directors and the number of high school feeder systems don't match up. I think it's 7 and 9 or something to that effect. So everything is fractional. We've been able to keep SHAP pretty well together, but the rest of it is, I've tried as much as possible to keep the high school feeders and the director districts somewhat aligned. Because of the mismatch between 7 and 9, it's not mathematically possible. But at the elementary level as a building block, I've tried to keep a lot of those together and still balance population. But it's frustrating. And I'm frustrated with myself because I was the expert witness that set the 3% parameter. So that you can blame me. But for the most part, I think that we try to keep those elementary schools somewhat as a building block.
Okay, thank you.
Director Geiger.
First of all, these maps are both incredibly detailed and rather difficult to read. And if we could find one that was easier to zoom in and out of, it would be helpful. Most importantly, it would be helpful to me if on these maps, we could put the school locations. So that, I can tell, because I know my district relatively well, it's clear I'm losing some to the west and I'm moving some to the east and C. That's pretty straightforward. I don't know if that includes another elementary school or not. So that would be helpful for me to know. It does seem to me like we're trying to make kind of 2 decisions here. Are Solstice and Sterling Ranch kind of a community of interest? And should they be represented by 1 director or 2? And to a lesser extent, is Elbert County a community of interest? And should it be represented by 1 director or 2? I have some opinions on that, but I'm willing to wait to see it. But am I summarizing kind of in general, we're moving the Highlands Ranch districts all kind of move a little east?
Somewhat. Roxborough has to be brought into the group. So, those 2 communities, the new part and the Roxborough part. Is that one community interest or 2?
Okay, so Sterling Ranch, Solstice, and Roxborough all may have somewhat, are they a group or are they not? And do they have different interests? So that makes sense as well, thank you.
Your other question regarding Elbert County. The big new development, Meadow Springs Ranch, in the southern half of our part of Elbert County will create a different set of stakeholders. And right now, that's in a separate district.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Meek.
Thanks for all this work. It is like a big puzzle. And Director Geiger asked a really interesting question around, I mean, we know the Solstice Sterling area is going to be growing. And I'm just wondering, did you consider a scenario where A did take up more of that space and then C would move more into A as opposed to moving into E? Just because I feel like Director Geiger, your director area and mine are really very, very similar and kind of on top of each other. But A has that growing area to the west. So I just wondered if maybe you considered a scenario like that, knowing that eventually A probably is going to morph into that more western area.
What it does to B is the issue. So right now, B has a clean divider somewhat with I-25. And if I pull more population out of B, I have to sneak back up into Highlands Ranch with B, the yellow area as you see there in that map. And I can only get so much of that without taking too much away from C to keep C viable. So what that forces me to do is if I gobble up more of Roxborough with A, I have to push B across I-25 into D and rotate the whole pattern of representation counterclockwise in order to facilitate that, because population density in Sterling Ranch and Roxborough is so much higher than it is in the rural part of District B. Now, I've already consumed all of the meadows into B, so that's what's facilitating keeping B in balance. But if we start making much more change, I'm kind of going to have to go back to the drawing board. And so as we rotate things counterclockwise, I kind of might as well start over from scratch. And so that's kind of why I avoided doing that. And also, this part of Daniels Park that I've encroached on with District B a little bit, in one of the scenarios, historically, Santa Fe was the dividing line. And so sneaking across with that, there's only so much population I can gain in that area because population density in general in that part of the district has either been completely static or it has declined. And I would say the majority of that, because family sizes in that area are so much smaller now, the majority of that area has declined. So I just don't have much to work with as I try to balance population in that sub-region. But again, I would be receptive to doing all sorts of stuff, put the schools on the map. I tried to design this so that in the high resolution version that you were given in your distribution, you could zoom all the way into street level and you could see where the streets are. And I think that was retained in the versions that were distributed to you. But I'd be glad to add schools, school boundaries, and do a fourth or a fifth scenario if you could give some instructions to me through Siobhan and Rich regarding what you'd like to see. It's very easy to generate scenarios once we have the basic model put together.
Personally, I'm a fan of 3, just to keep it historically accurate and keep it aligned with what we've done, but that's just one member. Director Weidiger.
I was going to say the same. If I had to pick today, I think 3 makes the most sense just because it's historical and it's best retention of long-term representation patterns. Yeah, that's all.
Director Moore.
Shannon and Siobhan, I just wanted to say thank you very much for all the hard work on this. I'm actually super fascinated by what you guys do and how you look at all this stuff. And you know, I've been in Douglas County my entire adult life, and so watching the growth and seeing how it changes. Most people don't have any idea how all of the changes in our community affects things like this. And I know you're trying to juggle most of the numbers that are squished into probably the top 25% of the county. And even though the large land masses south and west and east, most of the people are in that north central area there. And so I know it's a juggling act. I personally like scenario 3 just because I like how it reduces the deviations and keeps everything a little more closely in line. And I like the historic part of it as well. I don't envy. I know you guys have a lot of things to consider, and I assume that. Well, never mind. I'm not going to ask that question. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I appreciate the comments. And if you ever have half an hour to kill, go down between Toma Road and the new intersection and drive down to the Greenland exit and turn around and come back. And that's the future of change in Douglas County that you'd be looking at right there, is the traffic volumes, people getting off at the Greenland exit and going somewhere. Whereas you used to be able to sit there for half an hour and not see a car. And it's just going nuts, and the interchange is going to completely change the destiny of the southern half of Douglas County very quickly.
Director Meek.
Yeah, I needed to say thank you again because it's a lot of work. I know looking at this, I do think it'd be really helpful to have a listing of all the schools that fit within each of these scenarios, not necessarily even on the map, but just a listing.
Sure.
I know a benefit of having director districts is being able to allocate schools and, being able to go out and spread out all of the schools among our director districts, and having them listed out would be kind of helpful for analysis too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Director Meek.
And I know this is required by state law every 4 years, right, to look at this. What is our deadline for making a decision?
The 31st of December.
December 31st. Okay.
So does anybody else have any recommendations for them besides coming back with schools or? No? Director Meek?
I mean, I did kind of like the idea. I mean, I am director for A, so that's traditionally the smallest little one because it's densely populated, and I know we're trying to figure out, well, we know that western area is growing and A is kind of morphing over there, and that's why I was just kind of curious about if it doesn't happen this cycle. You made a comment that it probably will happen in the next cycle, and so that's kind of what prompted my curiosity as to, is there a way to make that happen now if it's inevitable? And so that was really my intent behind that question.
I could hang some ornaments on that tree. When Dawson Creek starts to add a significant amount of population, that would offset Roxborough and keep District B viable in size. So that would be the time at which transferring Roxborough into District A might make some sense. But again, in 42 years of doing this, I've never unseated a director. So I have to always keep in mind that's one of my personal criteria, is that I don't unseat directors. But at a certain point, we could swap Roxborough into A if Dawson Creek generates enough population to equal the population that's in Roxborough. And that would keep that district making some sense geographically as far as communities of interest in major transportation corridors.
So I guess my question is, do you need more direction from us tonight? Because I feel like we're not really giving you direction.
I'm hearing a preference for scenario 3 and then listing by schools. I think I'm unclear on if an additional scenario with Director Meek's suggestions is requested.
If it's not viable now because that division isn't there, then I don't think it makes sense. I just thought you had made that statement earlier where it sounded like maybe it would be viable now, but it sounds like it's not from a population standpoint.
It would wind up looking a little bit funny, but I think 4 years from now, that would be a scenario that would be in your package.
Director Thompson.
Which scenario are you preferring?
I like number 3.
Okay, so I guess 3 with a list of schools would be very helpful for us.
And some graphical improvement, which we will gladly
That would be
provide.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving into our policy governance section, item number 35, which is the proposed revisions to policy IKF graduation requirements. This is our second reading.
All righty, good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to review the second reading for policy IKF. I do want to give you a little bit of a reminder of what this policy is about. Just there's a few things that have gone on in between, so I'll just give a touch of a reminder and let you know some of the feedback that we received. So as a reminder, this policy is being updated to reflect the enactment of recent state laws, especially as related to graduation attire. House Bill 241323 concerning the manner of dress during school graduation ceremonies, which was effective on July 1, 2024, provides schools must allow graduates to wear items associated with religion and culture during a graduation ceremony. Policy has been revised to reflect the way a student may wear recognized objects of culture, religious significance, subject to the definitions and limitations around the provisions of House Bill 241323. We did pull specific language and definitions around adornment and culture was taken directly from the House Bill 241323. The other portion of the new proposed section regarding the graduation attire reflects other recent statutory enactments addressing and qualifying students' ability to wear tribal regalia during a graduation ceremony. So Mr. Cheney, who's our Director of Athletics, Activities, and Student Leadership, and I had the opportunity to develop a feedback process based off of your initial feedback you gave us last time we did this read, as well as review community response, which was provided, as well as creating 2 processes to gather formal feedback verbally, as well as in written form from 2 different sessions with high school activities directors, as well as high school principals, where they had a chance to review the revised policy, as well as review House Bill 241323. And so we went through a process to gather that feedback, and then were able to then incorporate any of the revisions that we had into the revised policy. There really was only one, probably fairly significant feedback that was provided. That was on page 3, if we can scroll down to page 3, specifically on section B. Around graduation attire. And this language on section B here was pulled specifically from the House bill. It didn't make it in our first read in this, but our principals and activities directors gave us specific feedback, which Mr. Cheney can speak about as well, to say we'd love to have this incorporated, which specifically states nothing in this policy shall impair a school's ability to prohibit an adornment that is likely to cause substantial disruption or material interference with a graduation ceremony. And so that was the one piece of feedback that they gave us that they'd love to see incorporated into the policy. Mr. Cheney, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, not really a whole lot. I think Danny hit it well. Just I think the feedback from the high school principals and a lot of the activities directors, they're the point people for the graduation ceremonies in their school. So I thought there was 2 pretty good key groups to get the feedback from, and they knew this was coming, right? They were familiar with the new House bill. So that was the only main thing, was B, just to make sure we get that from the bill to actual policy. So I think the challenge will become in the spring, when we have our meetings in March and April and we start getting those questions. I think that the implementation of it will be the challenge with this, but I think it's pretty clear cut with the policy itself.
Well, thank you very much. And I, for one, really appreciate the addition of that line. So thank you very much for that. Director Thompson.
All right, so I just have one slight edit. So, sorry. I get it just for clarity.
No, it's great.
So let me go to the section. So section A, the last sentence in number 2. So that very last sentence, so it starts with cultural, does not include objects related to tribal regalia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If we could just make an adjustment where we move the very first one, the tribal regalia, to the end, and after threats add, or for non-qualifying students. And then that correlate, and then tribal regalia, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong too, because I think that'll align better with qualifying student later on, because it looks like we're not allowing it, that it's, right, that it's part of what's excluded.
Okay.
So if we add it to the end and just add a clarifier, or for non-qualifying students,
Okay.
that would be, does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. I always struggle trying to get those edits out.
Nope.
And then the other, I just have one quick question. So for B, could I just have an example or two of what would be considered or could be considered disruptive enough to prohibit?
So I think that's going to be part of the implementation process as we work through. And so something that takes away from the ceremony significantly, I think, and so how we navigate what that looks like operationally, it's going to be part of the dialogue that we're going to spend really helping set some structure to that piece, but something that becomes more than what the ceremony becomes about. So how do we navigate that piece? And so that's going to be something we'll talk about from the implementation side of things. How do we put definition to that in practice for consistency across our system? So I'd hate to make that judgment until we have a chance to talk about it as a group to define specifically what does that mean. But really, I think part of the concern was around how do we make sure that if you want to talk about a graduation ceremony, that you can also see a cap and gown, where potentially that may be something where it may not be visible, or who knows what it could look like. And so I think part of it is how do we create some definition around that. And so it was something that we just simply pulled in from the House bill that we're seeing across, I think, the state as people are implementing this as well. We just didn't include it in the first read.
Director Geiger?
Qualifying student, I assume that's directly from the statute? Because this reads the way a legislature would
Yes.
write it. Understanding, and let's make this clear, this is written in the disjunctive. Okay, you are either a descendant of people, or an enrolled member, or a lineal descendant. How are we gonna check? I mean, are we doing 23andMe? Or are essentially, and I expect this is what I'm gonna hear, is we're gonna take people's word for this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's not going to be something we're going to go to the nth degree there. We do trust our students and our families to make decisions and communicate those things with us. It's not going to be something we'll dig in further than that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, well then do I have
Mary has one, I think, a couple of minor edits.
Council Klemesh?
Yes, thank you. As I reread the second reading, and I apologize that we didn't catch a couple of very minor things. One, if you look at the very end of the top of page 3 of 4, it's where we eliminated number 6. If you go to page 3 of 4, move up to the top of that page, please. If you look there, you see 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an and at the end of that sentence. We need to place the and at the end of number 3, and then a period at the end of graduation exercises. So I just wanted to point that out. And then the additional, there's a statutory reference that, my apologies again, we failed to include it. It's CRS 22-1-142.5 that I'd asked you consider to be inserted after CRS 22-1-142 22-1-142.5 actually includes the language that Director Geiger was just pointing out related to wearing cultural or religious objects at public school graduation ceremonies and those definitions. So I think that statutory reference should be included as well. And again, our apologies for not catching those as we were proofing this before posting.
Great. Do I have a motion?
Director or Council Clemish, were you clear about the proposal that Director Thompson had?
I believe I understood it. However, I'm always a huge proponent of tracking statutory language just to protect against unintended consequences when there may be statutory interpretations of a particular phrase included in a statute.
So is A2, the definition of cultural, is that taken directly from statute?
Yes, the definition in the statute on A2 is from 22.1.142.5, subsection B. Cultural means a recognized practice or tradition of a certain group of people and includes only a protected class based on disability, race, ethnicity, creed, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, family composition, religion, age, national origin, or ancestry, period. Cultural does not include objects related to tribal regalia as defined in section 22-1-142, incitement, defamation, fraud, obscenity, child pornography, fighting words, and threats.
So although I agree with Director Thompson that that is a terrible sentence, I would tend to agree that we need to mirror the statute.
Director Thompson.
I mean, I hear you, and I hear you. But I'm also thinking, again, I always think about policies from a parent and student perspective when we're reading them and they make sense. And just that sentence itself is just much more clear. But
Director Meek, sorry.
What about related to tribal regalia as defined in statute, comma? Like, I think that's where some of the confusion is. The way this reads, it doesn't. Yeah, because that's the confusion. So I wonder if just inserting as defined by statute or something like that.
If I may?
Sorry, Director Geiger, I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Does not include objects related to tribal regalia, parentheses, except as defined by statute, close parentheses.
or could we do parentheses for non-qualifying? So then we're using the language from below. That would satisfy my concern.
I think that would be, yeah. Either
So
one
I'm
of
sorry,
those.
where would the parentheses go then?
After tribal regalia in the last sentence
Yes.
of A2.
Yep.
Because it reads now you can't use tribal regalia, and then it reads below, yeah, you can if you're the certain kind of person.
So non-qualifying students for non-qualifying
Yep.
students in parentheses. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Are you comfortable with that, Council Clemish?
I'm sorry for taking so much time.
You're
I'm
fine.
just trying to analyze the possibilities here.
Would it be helpful if we came back to this item and voted on it? We can move on to something else while you check it out?
Excuse me, tell me again what you want to be included in the parent, except for non-qualifying students? It's almost like there's a double negative when you do that, which again makes me nervous about interpreting it and confusion to the reader.
I think it's trying to give context of a qualifying student what they're able to wear versus a non-qualifying student that's able to wear. So I think it's just that idea of defining that non-qualifying students are not able to and those that are can. So it's just simply just trying to give context to those that do not qualify versus those that do qualify. Is that fair to say?
May I? I apologize.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think after objects related to tribal regalia, parentheses, except for qualifying students, close parentheses.
Yeah, that would accomplish the same thing.
It only takes a lawyer 4 or 5 shots.
Yeah. And then it takes with a double negative.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Is that okay?
You're comfortable with that?
Thank you.
I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm
No,
always a fan
great
of
comment.
clarity.
No, thank you. Thank you.
All right, so with that, do I have a motion regarding policy IKF?
Move to adopt IKF with the with the amendments proposed by Director Thompson and Council Klemesh.
Second.
Motion by Geiger, second by Moore. Geiger,
Aye.
Meek,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Myers,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Williams, aye. Weiniger.
Aye.
Great, that passes 7-0. Thank you very much. All right, moving to item 36, the Board of Education Self-Evaluation Governance Process 1.1. I think Director Moore, you did this, so I will hand it over to you.
Thank you. This agenda item is a combination of 3 separate documents. The first one is just the agenda item itself, which just explains this is an evaluation of Board Policy GP 1.1, the board's governing style. This policy was last reviewed in March of 2024. The second document is just the policy language itself, which was also updated recently in September of 2024. So the revised language is there for reference. The third document is my memorandum after reviewing the policy and reviewing the language and reviewing supporting evidence. And when this policy was reviewed in March of 2024, the assessment at that time was that the board was in partial compliance. Specifically related to the fact that it hadn't been a calendar year that the board had been reviewing its conduct under this policy. The evidence that I used to evaluate this is a little different than what was used in March, simply because the time of evaluation that was old evidence used for the evidence that was relevant to the one prior to this one. I changed that to include new evidence, which I have listed here. However, and it may be a little bit of a splitting hair because this is now the second review of this twice in the same calendar year. But because it hadn't been a full calendar year that the board has been following this, reviewing or following its, or how do I say this? It hasn't been a full calendar year that we have been using this policy to govern how we operate. So it's very technical, however, and I felt like until it was a full calendar year, it was best to market that we were in partial compliance. Although I could be persuaded to the other way. I know it was being very technical when I kind of came to that conclusion, but any questions?
Thank you for your work. Anybody have any feedback for Director Moore? Director Meek, I know you do.
I love how everyone stares at me. I think it's great. I think this is a really great job, and I could argue it either way as well. So I think it's whatever the board wants to do. And thank you so much for the work on this.
Appreciate that comment. Thank you.
I find it hard to say that we are partially compliant when we're actually doing a little bit more than the policy requires. We're reviewing more quickly, we're getting on the schedule. Again, and I'm the lawyer, I think that's over-technical. I think we're compliant.
Wow, I'm going to go with compliance. Director Weiniger.
Yeah, I'm fine with the partial compliance. I just have a nitpicky thing in the first page, the last part under alternatives, when it talks about when we approve it. We're technically going to approve it the next one, I believe, so I think it should be the next meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is
Which will be December 10th. So just change under alternatives all those dates to December 10th. Then it looks great.
December 10th or 19th?
10th, December, yeah. Because we'll
December.
approve it at the December meeting.
Okay.
We're just reviewing it now.
Okay, it's 12/10.
So does anybody have any other feedback for whether or not we should be partial compliance or compliance? We'll let you pick, Director Moore.
Okay, I'll make those recommended changes and resubmit to Renee, so for inclusion in the December packet. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. But I would like to then look forward to the December meeting so that we can discuss then who will be taking on, sorry, let me pull this up here real fast. The next one that we will review, which happens to be 1.2, the job of the board, and that will be for discussion. Do I have a volunteer that would like to take on the job of the board, 1.2? Director Thompson, thank you very much. All right, so Director Thompson will then do 1.2 for the December 10th meeting. All right, and then we will move on to item 37, which is a first quarter board budget review. So Director Thompson, I will hand it over to you.
So this is similar to the last time we presented the Board of Education budget. So this would be quarter one. Hitting mute. We reviewed this the last time just to make sure that it makes sense, that it works for this process, and the feedback was that it did. I know that staff is working to make this kind of a streamlined ongoing process with being able to provide this chart, which was great. They made it nice and pretty for us this time. So the Excel skills are much improved. And if you guys have any questions or comments.
I think it looks great. Thanks for all your work, Director Geiger.
Do we know, when do we pay the election fees, and do we know exactly when will we know what those are?
I will.
I'm not looking at Director Thompson. I figured.
It'll be either December or January, depending on when we get that back from the county.
Any reason to believe they will vary dramatically from what we've paid in the past?
I don't think so, but I really don't know at this point.
That's honest. Thank you.
Director Meek.
Yeah, thank you for your work with pulling this together. I'm really curious, the consulting fees dropped very, very, very dramatically this year's budget versus last year's. And I just don't remember us talking about that. Do we have any background information on that?
So when this budget was first discussed, I know that was right at the beginning of my time here with the board. So having context, I don't have context in that one. I do in a few of the other areas, such as our travel and registration and the fees changes, but I don't have context for the consulting line.
Would that include possibly when we've used a board, we've called in CASB, or we had someone come in and do emergenetics that was outside of the district? We haven't done that in quite a while. I'm not saying it reaches that, but sorry, go ahead.
Can we look back? We don't remember exactly the details of it, but if
Yes.
we can look back and bring that to you next quarter, we can send you a memo, whichever you prefer.
Memo would be great, yeah. Thank you. Director Meek.
Yeah, I think a memo would be great, just for context.
Perfect, we
right,
can do
For
that.
understanding that. And, I mean, I don't, yes, I think those are the kind of fees that would fall under consulting, but I think
It's not probably that much.
the size of that is
Yeah.
pretty large. And I think the other thing I just definitely want to talk about for transparency purposes, you know, a big part of our budget usually is travel and registration, right? Because we go to trainings, and I know we have CASB coming up, and I know the NSBA registration is open, and our board secretary had asked for individuals who might be interested, and I know the deadline was coming up, so it just would be helpful maybe to share. I won't be needing to go to NSBA, and I went last year, but I think others may be interested.
Yeah, I did raise my hand to go just because I think it's a great opportunity for professional development and to understand what other states and boards are doing. And I think that's a good opportunity for us as a board to, I felt it was so educational last time to understand what other boards were doing, specifically when I went and did the AI and was able to come back and look at what we were doing and feeling really good about the direction that we are moving. So I think that it's great, and if anybody else wants to go, I think there was 2 or 3 spots that were available. So it's open for those who want to attend.
And
Director Myers?
I also volunteered to go.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Ronnie helped us with what was in that consulting portion, so thank you. It was PAC West and a lot of that consulting work we did before things went on the ballot. So that makes total sense.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Director Thompson.
I also think moving forward, when we're doing the new budget for the next year, I'll be sure that if we have deviations, that I'm keeping track.
Great.
For you all and sharing it out.
Thank you. Director Meek.
Yeah, and then I think just lastly, like we as a board, since this is our budget, it really is just us approving, you know, yes, we approve the fees for going to NSBA or just having conversations, so we're all on the same page, but also even for consulting, because that's a pretty significant dollar amount.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. All right, we will move on to the added agenda item for the discussion around the CSI discussion at our next meeting. So Director Meek, since you added it, I will let you start.
Sure, I just wanted transparency. When things are out on social media and, you know, I get questions and I say, I have no idea what you're talking about, and then find out that there's, you know, discussion to have something put on an agenda. I just think it's really helpful to be able to have conversation on that. So if you would be willing to share what you know and what you've committed to, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so I have been reached, a few different people have reached out to me, and they are wanting to start a charter school, and it's Kim Gilmartin, Linda White, and Ellie Reynolds have all reached out, and they are wanting to start a charter school, a classical school, and they would like a release to CSI. And at this time, there's only been conversations had. However, they are working on getting me a resolution that I will then get to the entire board to kind of lay out. And we will have it for sure before the packet that goes out the Friday before, so that we all have time to look at it and have the same information. But that's essentially the conversations had. Yes.
So I think the other piece I just wanted to understand was whether there would be a resolution that would show up Friday night and we'd be voting on it on a Tuesday. But but from the public's perspective.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think a past practice that has really harmed the board's trust in the board is when we do have a resolution that shows up in a board packet and it's voted on days later without, allowing conversations and education. So it sounds like December 10th, there would be a conversation or a discussion item, not a vote.
Well, as
Or
of right
an
now,
action
they
item.
are asking for a release to CSI so that they can start the CSI process. Because that is kind of similar to our process. It's done in the early part of next year. So to allow them to be able to go start their process to do that, they are asking for a release next month. But as I said, I will get all the information to you all before that Friday release. And I understand what you're saying about the public, but I feel like we're being pretty transparent here, having the discussion that there's going to be something on the agenda. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to have it, but it will be before long, probably next week even, next week's Thanksgiving, so, I can try. Director Moore?
I'm asking this because I haven't been on the board long enough to really understand the process, but how does the public who wants to bring something for us to make an official decision on, what's the process of bringing that to us, and do they bring it directly to you, or do they bring it to the superintendent? I just don't know how it works, I just want to understand.
It could go a number of ways. It could be, they call me and they say, hey, Christy, I'd like to get this on the agenda, and then I can say, okay. Or, like, for instance, DCYI had contacted Becky and asked for time on the agenda, so then Becky asked me, like, hey, can we get this on the agenda? So it just depends on, who brings it forward to get it put there, but yeah. Director Meek.
So actually, we do have a policy that states members of the public wishing to make formal presentations before the board, other than public comment, should submit an advanced written request with the superintendent and our board president, so that such presentations, when appropriate, may be scheduled on the agenda. So really, there needs to be written request, and that's kind of what sparked my desire to talk about it publicly, is that you said you granted request and there was no written request and no information. And I just really feel like, and I haven't seen us release a school to CSI before it was a school in a process. I'm not really sure how that works legally. I just have lots of legal questions.
Sure.
And I know we're in the middle of growth and decline issues right now, which is partly because the district approved charters in areas without intentional planning underway. I just have lots of questions, and I feel like our community probably will have questions as well, and having that information in a timely manner so we can make an informed decision, I think shows fiscal responsibility on our side.
I appreciate that, and I can certainly make sure that there's a written request that happens then very soon.
And I can reflect some of the concerns I got. I'm sorry, I should have asked.
No, you're good.
I can reflect the concerns that I got from the community, because I'm getting texts saying, these people are on social media telling us that we're going to be on the agenda actually today. And so now I've reviewed one agenda.
Yeah.
And it shows up. So I think it needs to be made clear that when people reach out to any of us, that you should not discuss being on the agenda until it's been made clear to the board that you're on the agenda. There's a perception that certain people have the special ear of the board, and that's a dangerous perception. And so if we follow the process where we'll do a written recommendation, and then we'll consider putting it on the agenda, again, you didn't put it on social media, I don't put that on you, but I think we need to have a clear process with the public that says, don't start talking about what's on an agenda until the agenda comes out.
Yeah.
Because that raises there are people all over this county who are on social media way too much. And so anything like that hits, and then one of us is getting a text, or more than one of us is getting a text, or screenshots or that kind of thing. So I think as a board, it probably makes sense for us to be clear about, we'll look at getting it on the agenda, we'll discuss that. Please don't discuss it being on the agenda until we're able to clarify.
Sure.
And I think that was a problem that occurred here, and I'm glad that Director Meek chose to raise this, and I appreciate your responses. I expressed this in an email about my concerns, so.
Director Thompson.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being receptive too.
Sure.
So what I'm wondering is if we should pair it with a staff presentation. So I know that Director Meek talked about like some of the legal behind it, but just to help the public understand the difference between a charter school applying through the CART process with us versus the process that is going to be requested by this presentation, what the differences are, the pros and cons of both scenarios from our perspective, but also from a charter school's perspective, because I know that there are a lot of benefits to wanting to apply through our CART system. And so, and that, I think maybe that's also a point of feedback for our presenters is why it's going to be more beneficial for them to go through this other process. Because I think like funding wise, it's a bigger benefit if you're approved through our system. So that would be helpful, I think.
And I agree with that. And I also would say that they have suggested in bringing members of CSI to come and actually be part of the presentation so that we can ask them what their processes are, if that would be helpful for the board. I thought it would be for me because I haven't done it either. So just all information for us, but I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, Director Meek?
Yeah, maybe just a legal memo that we could receive sooner rather than later, just on the process, because I don't think this board has gone through that process previously. We know about the CART process, but understanding any intricacies and legal requirements would be really helpful.
So Deputy Superintendent Hyatt, can we get that?
Yes, I'll work with Superintendent Kane and Council Klamesh on the request from the board on a legal memo that outlines the legal process for this.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Okay, so then we will move on to item 39, Board of Education reports, President report. Agenda planning is this coming Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Is that at the Legacy campus? I'm so sorry, I didn't. It's probably here. Oh, it's here, sorry, it is here. At 11 a.m. for both the retreat to be held on December the 4th and the Board of Education meeting to be held on December the 10th. There's been a lot that's happened. I feel like it's been forever since we've had a school board meeting, so I'm trying to reflect back, besides obviously the amazing election that happened. I had one of the Lone Tree URA board meeting. It was really very short, and it was just approving their very small budget for this first, or technically their second year. So we just approved a budget for that. And then on Veterans Day, I had the honor of attending 2 different assemblies. I went to both Cimarron Middle School, which was an amazing, inspiring assembly. And there were so many veterans there that it just warmed my heart. And I heard after I left, they all stood on stage and it was amazing. But I didn't get to see that because I had to leave to get to the other assembly that I went to at North Star Charter School in Parker as well. And that one was incredibly inspiring too. All the kids sang the different anthems from all the different military branches, so that was really neat. And then this last Thursday, I got to attend on the whim, so it was really fun, with Director Meek, Director Thompson, and Director Geiger, a experience at the Legacy campus where the culinary students prepared a meal and served us, and it was delicious, first of all, and just really inspiring. I talked to a lot of the students and just what their future looked like and what they were excited about, so that was really fun. And yeah, so I think that's what it is. That's what I've done, but just happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Enjoy a week off. And I will start, did we say Director Moore? Vice President reports, yes. And then.
Thank you. Yeah, so we actually had 2 FOC meetings since our last meeting. The last one we had on Thursday was basically the presentation we had today around the bond, and everyone was really excited about the bond passing and what that means for our school district. One person also commented how it's so nice to see our staff and our teachers jazzed up to work for CSD as opposed to like 5 years ago when he first joined the committee. So everyone just seemed excited for our school district, which was really cool. And then I also had an FOC meeting, which was before the election, so it was a lot of talk on if the bond passes. But it was great to have that talk and all that prep done because it did pass, and now we're all going forward and talking about how these meetings will look going forward, especially how staff will present on how projects are going. And there's a couple new programs they're going to use, which everyone was really excited about, that can provide more live data rather than having to pull from different areas and make phone calls to departments and put together a spreadsheet. So thank you to Colleen for putting that together. I think she might have already left for the day. But that was a big project of hers. And yeah, they all were anxious to get that bond passed as well. And so they also were very excited about the plans on having kind of a say on how money, when it comes to the $16 million contingency, the bond premium and interest, they'll get to have more weigh in on what they think our community will want for the bond money to be spent around those dollars. And then obviously it comes to us for finalizing, comes to the board for finalizing. And I also got to visit a few schools this week. I got to see Sierra Middle School and how excited they are for the expansion. And while there, we got to see some rockets be launched. So that was kind of cool. These kids built these rockets and used an air compressor to launch them and measured how far they went. And we're all excited about that. I got to step into the orchestra room and they played the song Favorite Things and did a fantastic job for middle school. And then I visited elementary school and got to see a reader's theater where they performed a book that they were reading. It was really cute. So yeah, it was a great experience. And I also got to go to Chaparral and visit with them. And they're excited the bond passed. They get a new turf field and yeah, and then excited for the retreat in a couple weeks. I'll actually be going to Casby this year, so excited to get that feel and that experience and make me a better school board director.
All right, Director Meek.
Yeah, the Cimarron Middle School Veterans Day celebration is always a favorite, but what made it really special this year, I was able to bring my father-in-law, who is a retired Marine, who I've been begging to go to this ceremony for years, and he was finally in town, and it did not disappoint, so that was fun. We had a SAG meeting, the Student Accountability Group meeting last night, and they are working really hard on their subgroup ideas and trying really hard to focus on policy and monitoring, and it's a lot of fun working with them. We will need to add an agenda item in December for SAG because their leadership team has an update for their recognition items that they'd like us to consider, how we recognize them at the end of the year, and they have an update that goes into those bylaws. So we would like to put that on the agenda for next month, if at all possible. And then we also had about a dozen students who expressed an interest in participating at the CASB Day at the Capitol this year. So February 13th is that date. I know Director Myers and I are interested in going, but it is open to any and all board directors that would like to go as well. It's a really special time where the students sit with state legislators. They get to tour the building, they get to learn about policymaking, and our legislators gush over them and want to take lots of pictures with them. So it's always a really fun activity. So I think it's about a dozen that volunteered so far for that day. As President Williams mentioned, the luncheon at the Legacy Campus, it was part of a foundation fundraiser. It was amazing. I think they should try to bring people into the culinary kitchen there and have the students make their meals, and the ability to build community relationships that way. We had elected officials that were there. We had community members, business leaders. It was a really phenomenal opportunity that we were able to take advantage of. Foundation updates. So as Ms. Hyatt mentioned earlier, the 8th grade Career Expo is this Friday. So the Foundation of Douglas County Schools is hosting its 12th annual 8th grade Career Expo at the Legacy Campus. This event is meant to provide 8th graders with the opportunity to explore career pathways by engaging with over 40 employers through hands-on demonstrations and interactive discussions about career opportunities. I think I sent all of you a sign-up link to volunteer if you're able to. I know there's plenty of opportunities to help on Friday. Another thing with the foundation, it's turning into holiday time. You can go to the foundation website and you can buy tickets. They're great gift ideas for loved ones. I'm always up for activities as gifts for family members. So if you want to go to a play or an activity, you can purchase tickets through the foundation website. And then lastly, I'm looking forward to attending the upcoming school consolidation community meetings that are happening. I know we have one tomorrow evening, Wednesday, November 20th at Mountain Ridge Middle School. There's another December 3rd, that's a virtual meeting. And then Wednesday, December 11th, there's another one at Crest Hill Middle School. And unfortunately, I missed the first one. I didn't know it was happening until I watched the morning news. And it was a little surprising to see that my neighborhood school was hosting one in a couple of hours that day. And I had a business meeting that I couldn't get out of. So I think it's really important to be able to be there and listen and hear what our community has to share. So that's it for me.
Director Thompson?
All right, thank you. Yes, a lot happened. So the FOC and MBOC, thank you for those updates. I think they were great. I think you mentioned that they're both working on operational procedures, but if not, I threw it in there that they're both working on that now that we have the bylaws passed. And I did want to spend a little time just talking about one of the MBOC items. So again, we had that bond discussion, and staff presented the bond report and how they're going to be presenting to the MBOC, as well as kind of like what that structure might look like. Like, there's no way we can do in a director update any justice to the work and the process that was introduced, but it's amazing. I'm really looking forward to staff presenting to all of us on it. Some of the strengths for the process this time, from those lessons learned from the 2018 bond after not having a bond for forever. And I think it's really responsive to not only lessons learned to make, I think, our staff's lives easier, but really for accountability, transparency. I mean, hitting all of the check boxes. So it was a fantastic presentation. I'm still impressed by it. I remember I wrote Superintendent Kane right afterwards. I'm like, it was amazing, and it was really well received by MBOC. So I'm not doing it justice, but thank you guys. It was fantastic. Great team effort. Constantly impressed by leadership. All right, so then Legacy Luncheon, you guys have all talked about that. It was great. The meal was fantastic. I had a really great time. I think it was amazing how staff, not only are they providing these wonderful opportunities, but how they celebrated those students. And that was really neat. You saw like smiles at the end after Rex gave all these compliments, and really like let us know who our instructors are and how great they are, but then how great our students are. And for people interested in learning more about our pathways, you can go to any of the websites. And then I think you guys mentioned December 4th at Legacy Campus. So, and then I did try to look it up real quick. I didn't find it in my Google results because I was going to actually say the name of it again, but the Legacy Showcase, so if you're looking it up. And then Veterans Day celebrations. I've heard great things about Cimarron's Veterans Day celebration. I am looking forward to attending that one. I went to the one at my kids' school. I love that we celebrate our veterans in this district. I want to also say, a late thank you to our veterans and military families. Having a group of, at our school, it was almost 400 kids singing to a crowd of veterans directly at them. It's just, it's hard to have a dry eye. And I will rat out our principal that I saw her tearing up, and she's seen that, that show how many times, right? And heard those songs. And it's such a special experience. And as someone who's married to a veteran, and this being typically a very difficult day for our family, having these things to look forward to are just amazing. And so I'm sure that's a shared sentiment among other veteran families and military families. And then moving on, we had, I missed my page. There's so much that happened. Safety and security, that meeting was canceled because of the storm, so there's no update for that one. I also got to attend a Diwali celebration, which really helped increasing my own cultural understanding. And it was a celebration at one of the local high schools. It was really wonderful. We saw cultural performances, food, got to experience art and create art. I had the opportunity again to try these new foods. I got to learn a new dance. I got henna. And it was such a good time. I'm an introvert, and I felt so welcomed by everybody there and wanting me to engage and be involved in it. It was such a cool experience, and I'm glad that they had the opportunity to put that on at the school. And then what else? I attended a school counselor advisory committee meeting. I might be saying it wrong. It might be like a council or, but at one of our high schools to learn about what that looks like with the counseling department within that school. And again, it's just really nice alignment to what we see presented in a board meeting and then seeing it again at another school level. So, and that's outside like the scope that I have within the school that my kids are at. So that was really neat, and really how they align their work to improving academics and data-informed decision-making and goal setting. And so that was a really cool experience. And then also, and I'm saying all of them out of order, but I attended virtually a biotech research proposal presentations at Rock Canyon High School. So they had an opportunity for us to join, I think it was like Google Meet. And I just want to put out there, biotech is one of our CTE options. This program is fantastic. So I got to ask questions of the presenters, and I asked things like what skills they gain and skills they hope to improve. And students shared that they're learning important skills in conducting research, reading scientific articles, as well as coping mechanisms when working through difficult academic projects. So that's great. And then additionally, I saw skill building in conducting scientific presentations, teamwork, as well as public speaking. The research proposals were really impressive, and they range from understanding how cholesterol impacts disease progression in ALS to, and I'm going to destroy this, and I hope the students get to hear this and laugh at how I'm saying it because I said it correctly. Bear with me, the effect of trehalase on trehalose production in Hypsibus exemplaris. So, yeah. Additionally, additionally, the program uses a near-peer model, and it incorporates outside scientific support. So as students are advancing through the program, they're also providing peer supports to the students that are earlier part of the program, which is really cool. So now they're learning like leadership skills and mentorship skills. I mean, it's just, it was so fantastic. And I also shared in our board director's update a link to one of the presentations. So if any of you guys want to be thoroughly impressed, I recommend clicking on it and scanning through the document. And then, I'm sorry, I'm not done. So I also attended the dyslexia symposium a few weeks back. That was on a Saturday. And I'm bringing that up here because we heard in public comment tonight that was brought up. I'm looking forward to some future conversations about dyslexia screeners within our district. I learned through that symposium, I have a better understanding of the READ Act. They also had, so CDE spoke. We heard from the federal folks about 504 plans and IEPs. So just better understanding of what the law looks like, what services look like, a better understanding of dyslexia in general. And I also watched that CDE meeting that was referenced earlier, where they talked about dyslexia screenings. And I'm happy to share the timestamp, and I'll probably just forward you guys the link to the meeting with the timestamp because it's like a 9-hour meeting. So, right, they put us to shame. And I think it's really helpful to hear the public comment as well as where that discussion is headed. So, and with that, I'm done.
All right, Director Myers.
Director Meek updated us on SAG, and I have to give out some kudos because we've done some different things, and it's all with Director Meek's expertise on policy governance and really guiding these kids so that when they do present in April, they can really speak to policy. I think they're getting it that's where they can make a difference, is in policy. And another FYI for April, they're wanting a 10 to 15 minute presentation instead of 3 to 5. So just to give you a little heads up on that one. And we're so excited, just to see the excitement. Mr. Cheney will be taking 6 kids down to Casby, so we're really looking forward to having our Douglas County kids at Casby this year, and I think they're really excited. So, and that they'll get to, we'll see them Saturday morning for breakfast and be able to see what they're doing and everything. So it's kind of nice. And they don't stay at the Broadmoor, but they do stay at another hotel where all the kids stay, so they'll have that experience. I also attended both Cimarron and North Star Elementary Veterans Day. I actually made my husband go this year because this is the 3rd year I've gone, and I said, it's just really, you need to go. And so because of what these kids do, the people that are represented, and it's very heartwarming to know that our schools care so much for our veterans. I had a DCYI meeting Monday morning. We just did some updates on our youth Congress, which we held at the Legacy, which was great. They were so grateful. They're just, the kids like the experience of down at the Capitol. And so I think Director Meek and I are really excited that as of one night, we've got a dozen kids that are going to go with us, and we'll put it out to the schools. And so they like that experience. And the difference then is they're in session. Let's see, we had a student, and I've known this student, I believe she's a junior from Mountain Vista, and she presented to DCYI on a wellness class that is out at Mountain Vista that she was part of. I think it's called a mindfulness class. And I just asked, the qualifications of the person that, teaches that class and is part of doing that, which of course I was very excited that it's a family and consumer science teacher. Because we just don't cook and sew, We do other things, and we talk about families and relationships and characters. And so it was kind of nice. And she's been to Youth Congress every year, but it's nice to hear from our kids that are at these programs. Today down at the building, I can't even remember what the name of it is, DCCF, DCCF, which is the Douglas County Community Foundation, we are probably a couple of years ago, the Philip S. Miller Trust Fund was handed over to be managed by DCCF. So we get, I thought it was a bigger check, but it's a $135,000 check. And then in turn, we probably handed out 25 checks today to various people that put in their applications, like Help and Hope, many of the senior centers. There was Cherry Hills because of the food bank they have. And so it's just getting that Philip S. Miller, turning it around and giving it away to our people in Douglas County. I have tomorrow, 2 school visits, so I'm looking forward to that. I feel like it's been a long time since I've been in some schools, and otherwise, that's it.
Director Geiger?
Well, the bad news, I had 8 events. The good news is most of them somebody else has already discussed. So quickly through the ones that people have gone to. The group that runs the Diwali system is called Unite to Uplift. It was glorious. Everybody had a blast. I was undercolored. I will dress up better next time, but I will note that the assistant superintendent dressed to the nines and looked very colorful. It was amazing. There was dance, there was food. They were very happy. They filled the Rock Canyon Gym. So Diwali is an amazing process, and I urge you to do that. I also attended the Rock Canyon High School Biotech, understood less of it than Director Thompson did, but was sufficiently impressed by it. I thought the Legacy Luncheon was quite good, although I had to leave early and missed the main course, which I will regret for a long time, but I will fix that. Director Moore and I attended the LRPC meeting the night after the election. It was a very happy group. Although, we talked a little bit about the progress and where we're going, and as is typical of LRPC, they then put their heads down and started talking about how they're going to participate in founding the boundaries for our new schools, as well as talking about some slip opportunities in some other areas. We haven't dealt with all of the growth that we have. And then I did a director's update on that for anything further on that. I also attended the Veterans Day at Cimarron Middle School, and I will say the one I'm impressed by the students discovering, if you're 6th grader standing up in front of 200 people talking about how World War II went, it's pretty impressive. That's a learning experience that's absolutely amazing. One event that I don't think any other directors got to was the Taste of Douglas County School District. This was an event, let's see, I want to double check when we had it. I think the 22nd of October, where we had students, parents come in and sample our food and talk to our nutrition services and all of that. They had over 850 people attend. I was walking out, there were people sitting on the stairs eating food. And it was just an amazing event. I will tell you, school food's a lot better than it was when I was in school 40 years ago. What we do for everybody, and I had a chance to talk to a lot of staff members, talking about nutrition services and how we deal with special nutritional needs and nutritional requests, and all of the challenges for it, but also what we're doing to provide healthy foods, fresh foods, all of the contractors. It was truly an amazing circumstance. If you get a chance when they're serving the chicken wrapped in waffle, that's the way to go. If you figure out that that's at your school, I could highly recommend that one. I want to talk specifically, reach out to Jen Pfeiffer, who is the Nutrition Services Director. She was so educational, so valuable. I just thought it was an amazing experience. And next year, if you get a chance, go to it. Crossing things off here. On school visits, on October 23rd, I got to go to Redstone, which is one of the schools in the North Planning area, do an amazing tour. Every time you step in front of into one of those schools, they're just doing something truly astonishing. Friday, I met with the principals at Crest Hill and Mountain Ridge middle schools. Those were extraordinarily informative talks and discussions about growth and decline. One of the things that I'm just constantly fascinated by is that our principals are so informed on all of these topics, know what's going on with growth and decline, and are very much willing to share their expertise and what they think. We had some very good discussions about whether 6th grade is best in elementary school or middle school. Middle school principals have a position on that. And what that might do to help their schools. We talked a great deal about what the bond can do for those schools, about their leadership in the growth and decline discussion. They're both very much involved in this and willing to work on it. Those are 2 schools that are continuing to decline enrollment. And they have a great deal of space and are anxious to find kids to fill them. And I think that's going to be part of our larger discussion next spring, is what we're going to do. Part of our combining schools will involve discussions about the middle schools. And I think we need to start having those very honestly. And I think that takes care of my entire list. I want to thank every principal. I've now visited every elementary school, every middle school, and every high school in my district to talk about growth and decline. Every principal has been incredibly helpful and incredibly willing to work on it. I think that, in part, is because the administration has done such a great job, and I greatly appreciate all of that as well. So, thank you very much.
Director Moore.
Director Geiger talked about LRPC, and he gave a very detailed report to the board on its correspondence, which was, I think, covered everything if you had any questions, but it was well done. I do want to hit on the Cimarron Veterans Day, and I was really disappointed that I couldn't also attend the North Star one that was later in the day. But what struck me is really valuable about the Cimarron one was just a massive display of school patriotism and involvement. And it was fascinating to see how much effort the students, especially the presenters, put into the details and the research they had done on each one of the conflicts that produced the veterans that defend our country and have defended our country. They did a tremendous amount of research, presented it very well. The music they did was fabulous. The effort of the teachers to help them coordinate that and just the production that went on and how organized it was, fabulous. The principal did a great job. But I was equally as impressed by all the other kids, excuse me, that weren't participating in the presentation, but they were up above in the pods watching. Now, the second there was a break, they were kids and they were talking. But the second we got back to the program, they were listening. They were quiet. They were respectful. Thought it was well done. Very, very, very impressed by the whole school. I'll be attending 2 of the 3 growth and decline meetings coming up. I will not be able to do the December 3rd because I have a conflict, the virtual meeting, but the 2 coming up tomorrow and, is it the 10th maybe? I forget. Well, I forget what the next one is. 11th, yeah. I'll be able to attend that one. And just the last thing, I had the honor of a high school student reached out, asked if I would, me of all people, would be his mentor for his student project. And it has nothing to do with being on the Board of Education, but everything really to do with my professional career prior to this. But it was just an honor that a student would find me out of all the people and say, hey, would you be my mentor for my project? So that was pretty cool. That's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, moving on to item number 41, adjournment. Do I have
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Geiger, second by Weiniger. Geiger?
Aye.
Meek?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Myers?
Aye.
Thompson?
Aye.
Williams? Aye. Weiniger?
Aye.
Passes 7-0. Board of Education is now adjourned.